grand final at Subiaco WAFL. There you can see the players forming up in their V formation now.
Well, anything can happen in football, Jack, has been proved here today.
Gee, I don't think I've ever seen so many sensations in a final round. What with the closeness of the two games East Perth played in, the sensational withdrawal of Derek Chadwick, and now Bob Page after running onto the ground and limping off again. It's an amazing sequence of events.
There you see the two sides lined up. The biggest there, Barry Chittleborough, 6'4.5" and 15 stone for Perth. The biggest Reese Perth, Eddie Pitter, 6'3" and 14 stone. The smallest, Barry Cable, 5'8" for Perth. The Gary Gillespie for East Perth, 5'7".
Well, the players pretty toey, bouncing up and down, a few butterflies and a few nerves out there too, no doubt, before the start of this grand final.
Well, John King, I think, was a reserve, Jack. He could come onto the ground at half-back, and Graham Edwards play on the ball in place of Page.
Pretty hard to follow exactly what they'll do, Bob. If Page is not available, looks at the present time, I'd say he's under the doctor, and perhaps if he does have to start, that they'd put him in a pocket for a start, depending on which way they kick, and not use him until necessary. Here's a few more chats going on now.
Jack Ensor, the assistant coach with Mel Atwell, and the runner Brian Ashbolt, conferring on what to do about Bob Page.
Well, a big worry for Malcolm Atwell here. The start of the game, the ball hasn't even been bounced, and he's not without his problems already.
Certainly sensational events, Brian, before the grand final of 1968. The efforts of a whole year going into this game today. 9 or 10 months of training for most of these players comes to a conclusion this afternoon.
Bob was told that Page did kick the ground when kicking one of those balls prior to the start of the game. Didn't see it. This is what happened. And unfortunately, he's out of the grand final, or we don't know whether he is out definitely or not as yet. He's certainly not on the ground at the moment. Mr. Ken Miller down there, the president of the league, with the acting secretary, Barney Giles. Here's Page coming back onto the ground again. Cheers from the Perth supporters to see him make his reappearance.
I don't think he's very happy, Brian, with himself, though. Still carrying a leg. Pretty much so. Not a very happy Page either.
Malcolm Atwell going over to have a word with Bob Page. A pretty tense sort of conversation going on between the two of them, as you can see.
Well, as Jack said, he could put him in a pocket till he warms up and see how he goes. Otherwise, he's got to sit on the bench cold just the same. So one way or the other, Jack, it's going to be a big decision for Malcolm Atwell.
Well, I don't think Atwell can do anything about it now. If Fred Wood says he's one of the team, he's going to have to know he's going off. He's going off. Atwell spoke to him, shook hands with him, ruffled his hair and said, well, bad luck. Bob Page, certainly a great misfortune.
One of Perth's best players for this season and last season. Certainly bad luck for the Red and Blacks and bad luck for Bob Page.
Well, the game takes on the sensational turn that we've had prior to the start of it. Bob, we're in for plenty of exciting football.
Well, I think John King was on the bench, Brian, and Graham Edwards was on the half-forward flank. Now I think Graham Edwards will go to the back pocket and John King to the half-forward flank, and here comes the governor to toss the coin.
As the car making its way onto the oval, led on by the motorcycle escort. The governor will alight from his car, meet Mr. Ken Miller, the president of the league, meet both captains and toss the coin for the choice of ends.
Yes, an interesting thing, of course, is that Bob Page will now become a reserve, probably, and if necessary, could perhaps come onto the ground later in the game.
Now, the Lieutenant Governor, the Honourable Sir Albert Wolff, meeting Mr. Ken Miller and shaking hands with him. Mr. Barney Giles, the acting secretary of the league, down there with him too. Now stand by, please, for the playing of the national anthem.
Special coin will be, the weekend news coin will be tossed. Special coin with East Perth on one side of it and Perth on the other. Colours of the clubs.
Governor shaking hands with Bob Graham, who has the task of leading East Perth, also Malcolm Atwell. And now here's the toss of the coin. You can call, says Bob Graham to Malcolm Atwell. Inspecting the coin. Malcolm Atwell wins the toss. Kicks to the right of your screen, going to the Subiaco end. East Perth kicking to the city end of the ground in the first quarter.
There's the reserves coming off for East Perth. For Perth, Greg Brio on the bench. Jack, it looks as though Noel Wilson's been recalled from the seconds and he will act as second reserve.
Yes, Bob, somewhat of a sensation, all right. I was still looking at League President Ken Miller to see if he had any fingers left. I thought Malcolm Atwell nearly trod on both of them.
2 reserves are still on the bench for Perth, which means Bob Page is not playing at all. He's right off the ground and out of the side. Barry Chittlebarrow is in the side for Perth, also Graham Edwards.
This is dangerous. I know the secretary of the Perth Football Club is out on the ground at the present time, Mr. Jack O'Day. I don't think they're allowed to have Noel Wilson as a reserve. I think the only reserve they can have is Page, and the other reserve if it's Brown.
Well, Jack, I think it gets back.
The secretary of East Perth there as well, Bob, and he's walked away from the conversation, and Scott's in trouble. I don't think Scott knows which way he can go.
Jack, whether the 20 has been declared or not, that is the point. You know, Perth declared their 20. Well, have they, Fred? That's the point.
It's a pretty heated discussion for the Malcolm Atwell. You can see him waving his arms there. Once again, the secretaries walk away from umpire Scott, and he's running back into the centre.
Well, the sensations before the 1968 Grand Final at League headquarters Subiaco. Mel Atwell won the toss, elected to kick towards the Subiaco end against the breeze.
Umpire Scott checking out the players on the ground, checking with both captains and getting set for the opening bounce down of the 1968 Grand Final. Signal to the timekeepers and the opening bounce. The 1968 Grand Final underway. You're watching it on Channel 7. Pitter got the first tap into the ball. Mills wins the first kick for Perth towards the half-forward line, knocked away by Macaulay. Players on top of it, and umpire Scott coming over quickly will bounce the ball down a few yards away from the centre bounce down circle. They go again. Chittlebarrow and Pitter pumped on again by East Perth. Up towards the half-forward line, Bob Shields takes it for the Demons. Back to the Perth half-forward line. Bob Graham coming across after the ball for East Perth. Can't gather it. Does so now. Races down to the left centre wing, and there's the ball put over towards the half-forward line for the East Perth side. Rigg almost taking the mark. Ramshaw can't pick it up. Opportunity for East Perth down there. Verstegen was trying to get a boot of the ball. Over the boundary line it goes, and it's out of bounds in the left full forward pocket. Thrown in very, very quickly. Interference, and the kick to be taken by Malcolm Brown. Here comes Malcolm Brown. Our camera right over his shoulder. In the opening minutes of the first quarter. Ball on its way, swinging across to the left-hand side with the breeze. And the first score on the board behind to East Perth in the opening minute of play. Graham Ramshaw to bring this ball into play now for the Demons from the city end of the ground. There's the kick from Ramshaw to the half-back flank position. Shields in front of the pack, pulls down the mark. The ruckmen were setting themselves, and Shields ducked in front of the pack to get his hands on the ball and take the mark for Perth. He has the kick on the right half-back flank. Puts the ball up towards the centre of the ground. Ian Miller there almost brings down the mark for Perth. Gets the ball onto the boot, over towards Atwell in the centre. Hand pass shot over to Dalton. Dalton onto the boot, sends the ball right across the ground out towards the left centre wing. Wilson after the ball out there. Gets the kick very quickly to the half-forward line. The whistle sounding. The kick going the way of Perth out on the left half-forward flank position. And Greg Bennett the player to take it. It's the kick from Bennett. Puts the ball up towards the left full forward pocket position. No one can take the mark. Taken by Bandy. Picked up now by Bradley Smith. Tackled solidly by Barry Cable. Umpire Scott coming over, holding the ball. His decision, and the kick to be taken by the Sandover medalist in the left full forward pocket. Here he is, Barry Cable, the man they've been saying East Perth must keep quiet if they want to win the 68 Grand Final. Has the ball in the left full forward pocket. There's the kick from the Perth Raver. And it's marked safely by young Pollack in the back pocket position for East Perth. Don Pollack takes the kick to the half-back line. Eddie Pitter dropping back. Over his head it goes. Gillespie after the ball, and it's out of bounds on the right half-forward flank.
Quite a strong breeze blowing. We'll have a look at the windsock in a moment to see just how the breeze is blowing as the throw-in comes on that half-forward flank. Chittlebarrow in there with Fremantle. Cable trying to come through on the half-forward flank. Umpire Scott to bounce it down once again.
Very tricky to win, Bob. Players are going to find it very hard to judge the ball in the air.
Atwell gets the tap over to John King. King's kick towards centre half forward. Miller and Macaulay, knocked away by Macaulay. Patterstone, there's his high kick towards the flank. Jerry Issachar flying a good mark there to Jerry Issachar. Worked himself into position about 25 to 30 yards out in front of the Perth goal. Jerry Issachar, a Perth full forward, coming in to have his first shot of the day. Oh, into the man on the mark. A bad mistake there by Issachar, picked up by Jensen. Towards Graham, and Graham kicks a beautiful kick down towards the centre, and marked by Hans Verstegen. Verstegen out to Gillespie. Gillespie in towards centre half forward. On the half forward flank now for East Perth. Ian Rothney coming through. Look at that pack on the half forward flank. Malcolm Brown tackled too high, says umpire Scott. And Malcolm Brown to take the kick on the half forward flank. Plenty of vigour and fire in the first quarter of this 1968 grand final. Malbound, centre half forward with the breeze behind him. There's the drop kick. It's on the correct flank in towards full forward. Cable trying to come through, tackle hard. Picked up by Ramshaw. Gets his kick towards the flank, and it's out of play at left fullback. Edwards and Horn contesting the throw-in. Taken by Chittleborough. Out to Cable. Kick from Cable into Dalton, and Dalton takes the mark. Out to the flank to Ross Milson. Milson having trouble picking it up, taken away by Fremantle. Good play by Terry Fremantle. Gets the kick towards the half-forward line. Malcolm Brown battling with Shields. McCarthy back to Brown. Here's a chance for the Royals. The kick in towards full forward. The back of the pack. Here's a chance for East Perth. About 12 yards out from goal. Phil Tierney into the pocket. A mad scramble there of players, and umpire Scott will bounce it down in the right full forward pocket for East Perth. 1 point on the board to the Royals at this stage. Tittleborough 29 in there. Edwards 22. Takes the ball. Over to Rothney, standing flat-footed. Finally recovers. Hand pass has gone astray. Taken by O'Donoghue. Out to the flank to Verstegen. Verstegen, a high kick in towards full forward. Ray Lawrence trying to burst his way through. Looked like too high, but umpire Scott will bounce it, I think. 6 yards, 6 minutes in, and I can't see that one, Jack. Grabbed around the neck, and he's holding the ball.
Well, there's a controversial decision in the opening minutes of play of the 1968 grand final. Phil Tierney will take his kick 11 yards out from the goals. You saw it in your screen. Well, here's the kick taken by Tierney. Ball on its way. First goal on the board to East Perth. They hit the front.
Well, umpire Scott didn't seem to indicate at all that there was going to be any free kick at all there. It appeared that Lawrence was grabbed high. He made no effort to get rid of the ball, though, and Scott walked in. It appeared as though he was going to bounce it, but he awarded the kick. And there's a box on down in the forward. Oh, there's a couple of good goes here. Ramshaw and Tierney. Catch as catch can.
Goal umpire coming across, spoken to a couple of players. Meanwhile, back in the centre, umpire Scott getting ready to bounce this ball. Up go the ruckman again. Chittleborough goes high to tap the ball. O'Donoghue was trying to gather it in the centre. No one can do very much with it. And umpire Scott coming over will bounce this ball again a few yards away from the centre bounce down circle. Knocked out by East Perth this time. Gillespie comes around with the ball for the Royals. He's pulled off the kick, picked up by Ostoney. Ostoney sends it up over the half-forward line. Chittleborough out there, can't get to the ball. Taken by Graham, tackled by two Perth players. Holding the ball, the decision, and Perth take the kick by John King, the player out on the right half-forward flank. John King puts the ball over to the centre half-forward position. A good mark from behind. Goes the way of Graham Jensen. Had to get over the top of the East Perth player to get his hands on the ball. Did just that and has taken the mark at the centre half-forward position. Kick from Jensen. Right up on the edge of the goal square. Players battling just out from the goals. Picked up by Izaga. Kicks the ball over the left shoulder and puts it through for full points.
Lovely goal by Izaga. Too many flying in the pack there, I feel, for East Perth. Nobody on the ground. Izaga quickly picking up the crumbs, and a snap over the shoulder brought up first for the first goal.
Now the scoreboard shows East Perth 1 goal 1. Perth 1 goal. Match of sensations here before the start. East Perth captain coach Derek Chadwick out of the side, and Bob Page of Perth pulling a muscle before the start of the game in his preliminary. Here's the bounce down again. Tapped out by Graham Edwards. Out it comes to Gillespie. He loses the ball. Mills trying to gather it for Perth. Here's the Perth wingman to put his side into attack. Up to the half-forward line it goes. Taken by Bradley Smith. Gets it over quickly to Graham. Graham with a hand pass out to Bandy. Bandy puts the ball into the centre of the ground. Garnett drops the mark, but got time to go back and gather the ball again. Gets it up to the half-forward towards Malcolm Brown. Brown trying to force it off the ground. Taken now by McCarthy. McCarthy's kick up into full forward. On the spot is Richie Rigg, and he marks safely about 12 yards out from the East Perth goal.
Riggs kick out towards the flank, looking for Pat Dalton and finding that player well down from the centre line. Up towards the wing, Patastoni. Patastoni takes the mark. Stoney kicking towards the half-forward line. Eddie Pitter. Ian Miller. Tackle too high, and Ian Miller to take his kick on the right half-forward flank. Miller coming back with a drop kick now, up towards the full forward area. Chittlebarrow can't take it. Taken by Cable. Hell without it, says umpire Scott, and Barry Cable taking its kick on that right half-forward flank. Well, anything's happening in this first quarter. Plenty of sensations. There's the kick from Cable in towards the pocket. Izaga coming.
Bad interference to Bradley Smith there. Could be a kick against him, Bob, I felt.
No, I didn't see it, I don't think, Jack. Izaga forcing his way between those two players in the right full forward pocket. There's his kick in towards full forward. And it's forced through for 1 point to the Demons. 1-1 Perth, 1-1 East Perth in the first 10 minutes of this grand final. Well, certainly plenty of fireworks to date and plenty to come. Bradley Smith kicking into play. Down the centre of the ground with a torpedo punt kick. Chittlebarrow high in the air, but he can't take it. O'Donoghue out to Graham. Graham gives it to Gillespie. Gillespie kicks to the centre half-forward position. Shields well knocked on there by Malcolm Brown. Taken by Philip Horn. Hand pass to Bygraves.
Oh, what about that one?
Bygraves too high. And there's another little fracas there on the half-forward flank. Bygraves on the ground, and he must take the kick. Bygraves between right half and right full forward. Coming in to take his kick.
Teeny's in the full forward square with 3 Perth players on him at the present time. This ball falls short, he's going to be in a bit of trouble.
Bygraves, a good kick towards full forward. It's all Perth there, as Jack said, and Graham Ramshaw takes the mark. Running out towards a half-back flank. There's his kick, not a good one. Taken by Garnett. Garnett kicks in towards full forward. Touch through. 1 point only to the East Perth side. Touch through there by Malcolm Atwell. He quickly kicks into play towards Rothney on the far flank, and he takes the mark as we're 12 minutes into the first quarter.
Rothney out in the back pocket position, gets the ball up over the half-back line, dropping back Dalton, high in the air. Verstegen quick to gather the crumbs for East Perth. There goes his kick back on the edge of the goal square again. Bandy got in front, picked up behind by Teeny. He goes into the ground with the tackle, off the boot, and out of bounds it goes. Throw the ball in, says umpire Scott, in the left full forward pocket. Up go the ruckman again. Edwards goes high, gets the ball down towards Cable. Cable shoots the hand pass over to Patastoni. Stoney's kick up towards the centre wing. John King there. He's got out of the way by Graham. Across comes McCauley with him as Ian Miller. They can't get to the ball before it's over the line. Ball to be thrown in almost on the centre wing position on the grandstand side of the Subiaco Oval. You're watching the first quarter of the 1968 Grand Final on TVW Channel 7. King taps the ball down. Over goes Mills. Mills kick up to the half-forward line for Perth. 2 big fellows in the air. Behind it comes behind Chittlebarrow. In goes McCauley to relieve the position for East Perth. Up towards the wing it goes. Thumped away by John King. Cross comes O'Donoghue. Picked up beautifully by Barry Cable. Cable's kick up to the full forward zone. Into the air they go. Bradley Smith soars into the air to take a very safe mark, almost on the half-back line. Kick from Bradley Smith, puts the ball up towards the centre of the ground. Fremantle setting himself, can't pull down the mark. It's all East Perth behind the pack as 3 Perth players hit the deck. O'Donoghue fumbling badly, but no player within 20 yards. Gets the ball to the boot eventually. Out towards Phil Teeney, out on the half-forward line. There goes the hand pass from Teeney. Handball on again. Picked up by O'Donoghue, lines up the by McCarthy, lines up the goals. This one away to the left-hand side again, and it's through for another behind to East Perth. Their tally goes to 1-3.
Some edgy players out there, Jack.
Very loose football, particularly on East Perth's part. Perth players seem to be getting away on their own on that particular occasion just then. East Perth certainly had command of the ball, but for this first 10 minutes so far, Perth have had plenty of play and been allowed to roam at ease.
East Perth 1 goal, 3, 9 points. They lead Perth 1-1-7. The kick in again coming from Graham Ramshaw, the Perth fullback. Little reaction from the crowd after the box on they had on the goal square earlier. Mills high in the air, almost brought down the mark. The ball over the line will be thrown in at left half forward for East Perth. Thrown in quickly. Up goes Pitter. Tries to get it down to Verstegen. Lawrence there, runs into Rigg. Picked up now by Astani. Over goes the hand pass to Cable. Cable with a good drop kick up to the half-forward line. John King setting himself, and he takes the mark for Perth. King backward at the half-forward line will send the Demons into attack. The kick
John
from
King kicking across the ground, looking for Isiger. Isiger coming well out, but he can't mark it. Polak comes through, gives it to Bygraves. Good play by East Perth. And quickly transferred down once again to full forward. Taken by Graham Edwards. There's his kick back to Patastoni. A good pass finds that player. To Ray Lawrence. Handball to Patastoni. There's the kick out towards centre half forward. Graham Jensen. Out towards the flank, Ross Milson. Milson having a bit of trouble picking up the ball. In the back, says umpire Scott. And Ross Milson to take his kick on that half forward flank.
Bob in the air, Perth of 13 marks to East Perth 3.
Perth certainly in control of the air at the moment as Ross Milson takes his kick. Big pack of players up there, pushing the back to Bradley Smith, and he will take the kick.
Bob, I feel East Perth are breaking down badly on their full forward line at the present time. The ball's getting down there. Brown playing quite well at centre half forward, but in the full forward area they're shocking.
Bradley Smith kicking towards the centre of the ground. Miller getting it, giving it out towards Atwell. Too high. Jim Haynes there, tackle Mel Atwell too high. Some rugged clashes here in the first quarter, and Mel Atwell taking the kick. The drop kick out towards the left full forward pocket. And there's a beautiful mark to Jerry Isiger, throwing himself in the air to bring that one down. He's between left half and left full forward, a good 50 yards out from goals. There's the punt kick, drifting in towards full forward. Once again, East Perth come away. Bob Graham. There's Graham's kick down towards the centre. Chettlebar all on his own takes it. Gives it to Milson. A kick from Milson once again towards full forward. And once again, East Perth pull it down in the last line of defence. Philip Horn taking that mark. Tackled there by Barry Cable. Philip Horn brings a short one into play towards Jim Haynes. Haynes down towards the centre of the ground. Ray Lawrence anticipating. Takes the kick up towards half forward. Missed there by Bennett. McCauley, a hand pass to the flank. Well taken there by Bygraves. Gives it to Lawrence. Lawrence's kick towards the flank. Socket off the ground by Mills. Out towards Dobby Graham on the flank. And Greg Bennett. Mills gets the kick and kicks it out of play at right half forward. A couple of breaches there missed by umpire Scott. Can you blame him in this first quarter, Jack?
That's pretty toughy, Bob.
There's the throw-in on the half-forward flank. Philip Horn bringing the ball away, but he's too slow to get rid of it. Graham Jensen. And there's a push behind the play. Silly play there by Perth. They had the ball cleared, and the kick given to Ken McCauley. Paddy Dalton there pushed McCauley in the back. No need for it, and Ken McCauley to take his kick. Ken McCauley from centre half back. Kick towards the centre. Paddy Dalton. A wild kick in towards full forward, and Bradley Smith out in front takes the mark. Smith kicking towards Armanasco on the flank. Taken by that player. A high kick towards the centre of the ground, Atwell and Haynes. Bob Shields. Greg Bennett. A kick from Bennett towards half forward. Chance for John King. He's over the half forward line in towards full forward with a floating punt kick. But once again into the arms of Bradley Smith. Well, a good duel between Jerry Issachar and Bradley Smith at the 18-minute mark in the first quarter.
Here's the kick from Smith, bringing the ball away from the goal square. Dalton racing after it, takes the mark at centre half forward. On he goes. There's the pass looking for Issachar up on the edge of the goal square. Issachar can't snap it onto the boot. Picked up very quickly then by Fremantle. Out of the back pocket position it goes. Thumped on again by Terry Fremantle, and he gets the ball safely over the boundary line to be thrown in front of the public stand.
Paddy Dalton should have had a shot there, Jack.
He should have had a go, Bob.
Throw in coming again. Up goes Ostani. Gets high into the air. Palms it out the back towards Paddy Dalton. He's bumped out of the way by Hans Verstegen. Verstegen slips with the kick. Gets it over to Philip Horn. Horn onto the beat. Comes up towards Mills and also Gillespie. Gillespie high in the air, getting over the top of the taller Mills. Off hands and out of bounds again. There you can see the windsock playing across the ground, almost into the member stand here at the Subiaco Oval. Players trying to force this ball away. The boot goes in from Barry Chittleborough, and umpire Scott will bounce the ball down again. Go the ruckman again. Chittleborough trying to force it out. Out goes the hand pass eventually. They get the ball to Greg Bennett. He's under plenty of pressure, twisting and turning. Graham going after it now. Graham comes out with the ball, the whistle sounding.
Well, get there.
Here's the kick going the way of Malcolm Atwell.
Yeah, he certainly did, Jack. Half the crowd didn't see it, but Graham did come in.
You can see what Bob Graham thought of the decision there, the look on his face.
15 yards.
Picture was worth 1,000 words. He threw the ball away in 15 yards, says umpire Scott.
Well, East Perth are wasting valuable time here. If the breeze, which it looks is in their favour to a certain degree, they should be getting goals on the board.
Here's the Perth captain coach to take his kick. Ball going right up towards the full forward pocket position, almost marked by the Royals, and it's out of bounds next to the point post at right full forward. Runners on the ground for both sides at the present time.
Brown going up onto the ball.
Here's Cable after the ball, about 35 yards out from the goals, getting around onto the left foot. There's the snap from the Perth Rover across the face of the goals and marked by Greg Bennett, or out of bounds, is it? Yes, over the line it is in the right full forward pocket once again. You see Brown contesting the boundary throw in there. East Perth bring the ball away again. Up into the centre of the ground it goes. Ray Lawrence standing his ground, takes the mark safely for Perth. Garnett coming up over the mark. Eventually Lawrence coming across for his kick. It's a high kick landing at half forward. East Perth almost bringing it down again. Knocked out by McCauley, taken by Bob Graham. Graham with a hand pass up to Gillespie. Gillespie with a kick to the open space at half forward. Players converging on it. Marked safely by O'Donoghue. Tries to get it over. Couldn't do so. Bandy calling for the ball. It's out of bounds again on the left half forward flank position now for the Royals.
East Perth runner, Brian. I don't know who's at centre half forward. If it's Garnett, well, there should be another half forward down there.
On the throw-in, Lawrence coming behind the pack. Gets the ball off the ground, up into the centre. Malcolm Brown coming across. He takes the mark. Coming in the opposite direction was Malcolm Atwell, and Brown safely taking the mark in the centre of the ground.
Mel Brown now playing on the ball with the drop kick towards centre half forward. A good mark there to John Garnett. John Garnett in front of the pack takes the mark at centre half forward for the Royals. 1 goal, 3 East Perth, 1-1 Perth. A very tight first quarter. John Garnett with the breeze behind him. The drop punt doesn't cover a great deal of distance down towards the pocket. Pumped out towards that pocket there. Cable battling with 2 or 3 East Perth players. Comes out with the ball. Well done, Barry Cable. And gets the kick towards the left centre wing. Jensen there playing with Armanasco. Russ Milson. Milson kicking further afield towards the half forward line. Bradley Smith once again, very strong this fellow, and gets East Perth out of trouble. Back to Cable. Kick from Cable's not a good one, and goes towards centre half forward. Jim Haynes playing loose there. Over to O'Donoghue. Bad football there by East Perth. Back to McCauley, and luckily they get out of trouble. Towards centre half forward. Malcolm Atwell screws it up towards the left centre wing, looking for Mills, but it's gone out of play. 9 points to 7, very low scoring in the first quarter. Chittleborough in there opposed to Brown. Chittleborough all his own, gives it to Atwell. Atwell up towards Dalton, and Dalton takes the mark.
Pretty solid hip and shoulder there, Bob. Bob Graham given a push by John King and the ball thrown in.
Jim Haynes takes the throw in. Holding the ball, says umpire Scott. Very sudden death on holding the ball today, Jack.
Not giving the players any chance to scrum up or get this game bogged down. He's keeping it going.
Kick in towards the forward area. John Bandy. John King. There's his kick further afield. Isiger and Bradley Smith. Some hard tackling going in that forward area for Perth. John King, Bradley Smith. Back to Ray Mills. Ray Mills besting his way through the pack, kicks it towards full forward. And Malcolm Brown this time, resting in defence, takes the mark. Well, some wild kicking in the forward line on both sides. Malcolm Brown with a long kick towards the centre of the ground. Atwell high in the air takes the mark, gives it to Dalton. Poor old kick from Dalton once again goes astray, and Don Polak takes the kick. Well, Paddy Dalton, usually a reliable drop kick.
McCauley is down, Bob, for East Perth.
Certainly not kicking well into that forward line. Out towards Mills and Gillespie punches it out of play. Ken McCauley up on his feet again now. Patastoni over the back. So O'Donoghue. O'Donoghue down towards John Bandy. John Bandy's dropped it. Socket off the ground by Atwell. And marked by Pat Dalton between right centre wing and right half forward. Golden opportunity there for John Bandy to mark that one, but
Umpire Scott checking out the positions on the ground with both captains for the bounce down to the second quarter.
reserves on the bench for Perth, Greg Brio and of course Noel Wilson now acting in place of Bob Page. Whether he's allowed there, we do not know at this stage.
You're watching football on Channel 7. The bounce down coming for the second quarter of the 1968 Grand Final. Up go the ruckman again. Pitter gets the tap into the ball. Down towards Mills. Mills trying to carry the ball forward for Perth. Gets it to his boot. Up over the half-forward line it goes. Stanley almost pulling down the mark. Bradley Smith coming out. Picked up now by Bob Graham. Well shepherded by Smith, and Graham gets around to relieve the position. Gets the ball up towards the wing. Haynes on the spot. He can't pick it up. Taken by Lawrence. Playing strongly for Perth. Gets the ball over to the centre half-forward position. Anticipated well by McCauley. The mark has been awarded. You saw it in your screen. You can make up your own mind whether you thought it was a mark or not. And McCauley to take the kick in the centre half-back position for East Perth. The kick from McCauley. Up over centre line it goes. Pitter went high into the air. Tries to force the ball out. Knocked on again by Perth. Out comes Cable with the ball. Shoots the hand pass over to Dalton. Dalton sends the ball right up at the full forward zone. East Perth flying in front off the fingertips of Bradley Smith. Here's a sitter for Jerry Isiger. Lines up the goals. That's right through the middle.
Well, a chapter of errors there for the East Perth side, with two players, Fremantle and Bradley Smith, going to go for the ball. Bradley Smith elected to go, but as you saw, it came over the back, and Isiger brought up his second goal. But gee, what a damaging player Cable is. He's the boy at present that's setting Perth alight on every occasion.
Graham Jensen now running on the ball, Brian, and Greg Bennett at left half forward.
You can see Jensen up in the centre circle for the bounce down. As Jack said, Cable has been electrifying the fans here with his display in this league grand final. Bounce down coming again from umpire Scott. Eddie Pitter is opposed here to Barry Chittleborough. Chittleborough thumps the ball for Perth up towards Ian Miller. Cross comes Milson. Milson picks it up. A long kick from centre half forward. Dropping back is Isiger. It's away to the left-hand side again, with the breeze blowing in that direction, and it's out of bounds at left full forward.
Perth using both rovers on the ball and moving Bennett up, or Jensen at least on the ball, and moving Bennett up onto the half-forward flank as they did last in the second semi-final.
Picked up by Stoney behind the ruckman. Snaps it onto the boot. This looks good, and it's full points again. The third goal to Perth.
Good shepherding there by Graham Jensen.
A clever football by Perth for Stoney to get that. Certainly shows the value of an open forward line, and as I say, Jensen and Cable both on the ball. Bennett on the half-forward flank, and plenty of room for Jerry Isiger to move and use his pace against Bradley Smith.
Well, now Perth moving away with the aid of the breeze in this the second quarter. 3-2. They lead East Perth 2-3. It's 20 points to 15. A 5-point advantage. Up goes Pitter, leaping high in the centre. Gets the ball down to Bandy. Bandy up to the half-forward line. Players converging again. Picked up by the reliable Richie Rigg. Back to the half-forward line. Two East Perth players dropping back, intercepted there by Bennett. Bennett's kick up to full forward again. Away again it goes to the left-hand side and through for another behind to take the Perth tally to 3-3.
And the breeze certainly
Perth
fresh
are
in
bringing
this
it
quarter.
down very quickly, Bob, aren't they, with this
Yes,
breeze?
getting it away from the centre, Brian. Bradley Smith having a good duel down there with Jerry Issachar. Kicking towards a member stand flank. Ross Milson. And Milson takes the mark on the left half forward flank. Ross Milson, the Perth wingman, switches play over towards the centre half forward position. Hans Verstegen coming out with the ball. Up towards the centre. Graham Edwards, but it's picked up there by Mark O'Donoghue. There's the kick in towards centre half forward. Malcolm Brown. Brown gets his kick towards further afield, towards McCarthy it is.
The big change, Bob. Gillespie shadowing Cable. Now East Perth have put Armanasco, I think it is, onto one wing. Bygraves on the other. Gillespie on Cable.
Kevin McCarthy, a shocking kick across the ground. Taken there by Jensen. Jensen right up towards the flank towards King. King 26, Graham number 6. No trouble in Bob Graham, picking up all on his own. Shoots it up towards the flank to Garnett, but it's gone out of play.
Armanasco has gone onto the wing for East Perth, Bob.
Changes made by East Perth in this quarter. Chittlebarrow gets the tap, it goes the way of Jensen. There's Jensen kicking towards full forward, and Terry Fremantle coming in front takes the mark. Terry Fremantle, the strong ruckman for East Perth, kicking towards the outer flank. And well taken out there by Jim Haynes. Jim Haynes, not a good kick, and Ray Lawrence playing well on that half-back flank relieves the pressure for Perth. There's a kick from Lawrence, down towards centre half forward, and Macaulay coming in takes the mark. Ken Macaulay at centre half back. There's his drop kick out towards the flank. Knocked away by Shields. Well done there by Bob Shields. Kicks it towards full forward, towards Issachar and Smith. Over the heads and out of play, this time at left full forward. Bob Shields, anticipating that one well, came well down to relieve the pressure. 3-3 to 2-3, one goal in favour of Perth. And there's Gillespie there, as you saw, shadowing Cable in this quarter. Cable did a lot of damage in that first quarter. Here's a chance for Perth. Down towards the square. Over goes a Stoney, but no kick. And the ball goes out of play at left full forward. The 6-minute mark in the second quarter.
Ball thrown in the full forward pocket. Bennett trying to get a boot of the ball. Swings it at it quickly. Into the post it goes. There's the first poster in the 68 grand final. And it brings up the resulting behind for Perth. They go to 3-4. 3-4. They lead East Perth 2-3. Bradley Smith to bring the ball into play, and the sun ducking in and out behind the clouds as the ball comes to the half-back line. Almost taken by Philip Horn. In goes Barry Cable. There's his O'Donoghue trying to tackle him. Cable got away from his shadow in Gillespie, and there's his kick. Puts the ball back towards the full forward zone. Bradley Smith underneath it again. Opportunity for Perth. Picked up by Bennett into an open goal. 4 points again to the Demons.
Well, these players, Perth certainly showing more pace than East Perth at the present time, and players not able to judge the ball. Bradley Smith playing in front of Issachar, and noticeable on the last 2 occasions the ball's floated over the top of both players and allowed these Rovers to chip in for the easy kicks.
That looked as though it was going to drop well short, Jack. I thought Bradley Smith had marked that one.
Back in the centre with umpire Scott once again. Up they go. Chittlebarrow gets the ball out. Takes it again himself. Tries to get it over towards Milson. Cable and Gillespie battling for the ball there. Towards the boundary line it goes, and eventually over the line to be thrown in right on the centre wing position. Philip Horn and Chittlebarrow. Interference, says umpire Scott. There's the kick taken by Horn. Goes for the hand pass, gets it over to Bygraves. Bygraves kick to half forward. Intercepted again by Ray Lawrence, playing grandly for Perth. Gets the hand pass on over to Mills. Mills up across the centre. Kicks to the half forward line. All East Perth there though. Off the hands of East Perth player. Picked up now by Graham. He's tackled solidly. Play on, says umpire Scott. Graham goes back in, gets hold of the ball again, kicks it across the half-back line, and now it's out of bounds on the right half-back flank.
Umpire Scott's going to give a kick in, I think, from this one, is he?
No, I think
in.
you throw in, Bob.
Ball relayed out of the crowd and Ruckman set again.
No, it's a kick in, Jack.
He is giving a kick. Graham Jensen is the player to take it. Out here on the left half-forward flank. Here's the kick from Graham Jensen. Ball dropping short in front of the goal square. Bennett again, ducks out of the pack nicely. Whistle sounding once again from umpire Scott. He's going to give him a kick, and he'll take this kick on about a 30-degree angle. Now camera looking right over the shoulder of Greg Bennett as he lines up this shot for Perth. The kick from the Perth Raver puts it across into the right full forward pocket position, and it's been marked safely there by Malcolm Brown in the back pocket for East Perth. Brown onto the boot quickly to a nest of East Perth players on the half-back flank position. Taken there and carried on with a hand pass. Up it goes towards Hans Verstegen. Verstegen carrying the ball over half-back, going for a run. Tackled by Perth players out there. It still tries to come out with the ball. No one can do very much with it. Play on, says umpire Scott. Taken away again by the Demons. They relay the ball back into that full forward pocket position again. Isager getting high into the air. Off hands and out of bounds in the right full forward pocket.
Well, that wouldn't certainly let go out there, Jack.
Well, I think East Perth players are bewildered, Bob. Their forward line is non-existent. Players are just roaming anywhere, and there's about 3 or 4 Perth players loose up there, so I can hardly see how they can kick a goal.
There's a hit in. Greg Bennett trying to come away. Gets a snap kick towards full forward. Here's he going. Bradley Smith again. Malcolm Brown trying to burst his way through. Does so, and it's gone out of play. This time at left full forward for the Perth side. 4-4 Perth, 2-3 East Perth. Graham Jensen to a stone. He snaps it onto the boot. That's a stray this time, and 1 point only to the Perth side. Well, East Perth have thrown a few players onto the ball. Jack down here to crowd it up.
I just see Ray Lawrence in the centre trying to find a player. He's found Verstegen out and he's out on the other side of the ground.
Bradley Smith kicking in towards the grandstand flank. Russ Melson again, a beautiful pair of hands, this fellow. And he brings down another good mark.
Malcolm Atwell standing back behind the half-back line, Bob, directing operations for Perth.
Kick from Milson. Cross towards centre half forward, a chance for Cable. A scramble at centre half forward, and umpire Scott to bounce it down. Stoney gets up, gives it to Horn. Pat Dalton intercepts it. Snaps it in towards full forward. It's floating through with a breeze, and it's through for Perth's 5th goal.
Well, Paddy Dalton looked like he ran 30 yards then, but good football. Dalton eluded 2 players, got around and brought up another goal to Perth. As I say, Perth attacking all the time. East Perth playing, well, terribly defensive football, not giving themselves an opportunity at all.
5 goals, 5. Perth 35 lead. East Perth 2 goals, 3, 15. Perth ruck taking control and their centre line in this second quarter to force the ball down. Eddie Pitter coming in to Ray Mills. A high kick towards the flank. Big pack of players up there. Ken McCauley comes down with it and awarded the mark. Ken McCauley taking the kick on the right half-back flank. Kicking against the breeze. Switching play towards centre half forward for East Perth. Gary Gillespie. Through comes Mark O'Donoghue. Graham Rothney holding the ball, says umpire Scott. And Kevin McCarthy to take his kick. Wastes no time. Kicks it in towards that forward area. Ray Lawrence trying to come away. Over to Ramshaw. A push, says umpire Scott. And Graham Ramshaw to take his kick. Umpire Ray Scott certainly paying the man in front today. And Graham Ramshaw, the fullback, taking his kick at the 12-minute mark in the second quarter.
You're watching the 1968 Grand Final on TVW Channel 7. The Perth fullback kicking the ball. There's the kick from Ramshaw, puts the ball up into the centre of the ground, thumps the ball onto the chest of Graham Jensen. Cable running down the ground, with him his shadow again in Gillespie as the ball's put up to the half-forward line. And there's a good mark on the half-forward line going the way of John King. It's the kick from King. Right up to the 4-4 position. Isigo manages to get Bradley Smith out of the way with the nudge. Umpire Scott coming down the ground. Here's the mark going the way of the Perth full forward. Isigo pushed him out of the way, managed to get away with it, and he's won the kick about 15 yards out from goal. It's about a 45-degree angle.
It might have been a little bit of interference.
Yes, he certainly didn't see that one.
Here's the Perth full forward for the kick. Can't steal this one through, and a behind goes on the board. The Perth tally carries on to 5-6. 5-6, they lead East Perth 2-3. Bradley Smith coming around for the kick into play again now for the East Perth side. Here it is, out to the half-back line. Ian Miller almost taking the mark. Once again it goes over the boundary line, the ball to be thrown in again. Cable on the spot down there, our camera will see him in a moment. Right next to him again, Gary Gillespie shadowing him strongly. After the ball goes, Chiddleburrow gets it over to Bennett. Bennett doing the damage in this quarter. There's the kick, and it's right through the middle again.
Lovely goal to Bennett. Well played Chiddleburrow to get the ball away from that pack then. A handball onto Bennett, and Bennett too much pace, popped it right through the middle. But Perth in attack all the time. They're winning the race to the ball, and East Perth, as I say, trying to play defensive football and giving them the opportunity of bombarding the goals.
Malcolm Brown, a loose man in defence there at the moment, Jack.
Yes, I would like him a bit closer to the play than just wasting his time down in defence.
We're 14 minutes into this, the second quarter of the quarter. Here's Cable after the ball. Gets the kick. Ball coming out towards the wing position. Milson racing after it. Can't get to it though, and it's out of bounds. Thrown in right on the centre wing. Graham Edwards is down there with Eddie Pitter. Jim Haynes and Pat Stoney also coming in for the knock. Out the ball goes to Bygraves. With him is Pat Dalton. Picked up by the Perth player. He's tackled solidly. Comes out now to Stoney. Shoots the hand pass over. Taken by Ross Milson. Milson kicks to the half-forward line. Here's Perth players unattended. And it's been safely taken by Chiddleburrow. Gets the ball over to Jensen. Jensen from centre half forward. Puts it up into the goal square. Smith in front. Behind him, Isigo. Off the fingertips of Jerry Isigo and through for another behind.
Would have been a goal, I think, Brian, if he'd let it go. Well, 6-7 Perth, 2-3 East Perth, and Bradley Smith the kick in once again out to this member stand flank, the defensive pocket, having a hard job kicking against the breeze. Eddie Pitter flying in the air, and he takes the mark. Eddie Pitter, the East Perth ruckman, drop kick in towards the centre position. Pat Dalton from the back, having trouble picking it up. Play back to the centre of the ground. Knocked out by Cable, but it goes towards Bygraves. Hutley pressed there by Atwell and Ray Mills. And they're kicked down towards centre half forward. Out towards the flank, Ken McCauley. He gets his kick back towards centre half forward, and Bob Shields takes the mark. Non-stop football. Bob Shields relieving the pressure there for East Perth. Shields with a high kick towards centre half forward. Missed by Eddie Pitter. John King a hand pass into no man's land. Brown gets a kick out towards the flank. Ross Milson underneath it, and he takes the mark. Ross Milson switching play towards centre half forward. Missed by John King. Knocked on towards Bennett. There's a kick from Bennett, floating goalwards. Looks good from here, it is good. And the 7th goal of the Demons.
Well, while East Perth are shadowing Cable, Bennett's kicked 3 goals and playing a very good game for them. But East Perth players slightly bewildered, I think. I don't think they seem to know where they're going or where they should be going, and Perth are really cutting them to ribbons.
There's Brian McGregor, the runner out on the flank there. He switched places with Bob Graham. Bob Graham coming out now to play on Greg Bennett on the half-forward flank. Perth running 2 rovers in this second quarter, Graham Jensen and Barry Cable. There's a tap down again, taken by Edwards. Up Mark O'Donoghue, there's his kick, back towards centre half forward. John Garnett there, a good mark to John Garnett. Stood his ground. And John Garnett playing centre half forward in this quarter in place of Mel Brown. Kicking towards that far flank. A big pack of players out there. Graham Edwards can't get his kick. Ray Lawrence comes in, picks it up to Ray Mills. Kick from Mills is a high one towards the flank. Jensen there. Graham Jensen, plenty of time to kick it. Down towards Isiger and Bradley Smith. Battling on that half-forward flank. Isiger can't get his foot to the ball. Bob Graham comes in. Looks as though Isiger took a knock there. He's flat on the deck, but he's getting up now, and the play's gone out of play this time in front of the member stand. There's Greg Bennett picking himself up, and Jerry Isiger. 18 minutes gone in the second quarter.
As you said earlier, Bob, non-stop football. The ball to be thrown in again right on the centre wing position almost here at the Sydney Anchor Oval. Now he's carrying the ball back more towards the half-forward flank position. Ruckman following the boundary umpire back, and here's the throw-in. Haynes in front, gets the ball down, taken by Cable, tackled subtly by Shadow and Gillespie. Haynes picks up and puts it over the boundary line again for another throw-in. 7 goals, 7 on the board to Perth. They lead East Perth 2 goals, 3.
Brown back to centre half-forward, Garnett on the flank.
Philip Horn, Patastani after the boundary throw-in. Taken by Edwards himself. Can't get a boot into the ball. O'Donoghue can't either. Picked up now by Patastani. Tries to get it over to Dalton. Picked up now by O'Donoghue. O'Donoghue's kick to the half-forward line for East Perth. Big pack in the air. Down it comes to Bygraves. After it goes Richie Rigg just inside the line. There's the reliable Perth defender putting the ball back to the wing position. Philip Horn, tackled by Cable. Over to Haynes. Haynes to half-forward. And a good mark there to McCarthy on the half-forward line for East Perth.
He must be off if he meant to hand pass Jacketley.
You go to improve your position, you're off.
Kick by McCarthy up, and Eddie Pitter gets into the air to take a good mark for East Perth. Well, East Perth badly needing a goal in this quarter into the Breers. Eddie Pitter, but perhaps an opportunity now to convert for them. Here's the big ruckman. Sends the ball on its way. Goal umpire doesn't move, and it's right through. That's the 3rd goal to East Perth.
Well, a lovely mark and a lovely kick to Pitter, to, I'm sure, put a bit of blood back into the veins of these East Perth players. They've been battling pretty hard this quarter and not getting any results whatsoever. And I feel that now with Brown back at centre half forward and their forward line again looking something like a forward line should, that East Perth have got more hope.
There you can see Malcolm Brown and Bob Shields back into their positions. Bounce down to the centre again. Philip Horn pumps the ball to the half-forward line. The race on now. Players overrun the ball. Picked up by Armanasco. Sends the ball up to the full forward position. Opportunity for Peter. Phil Tini, 15 yards out onto the boot. 4 points again, East Perth.
Tini's 3rd goal, and remarkable what you can do when you've got some footballers up in the forward line.
Yes, a quick transference there, Jack. 2 goals in 2 minutes.
Now the Perth scoreboard shows 7 goals, 7. They're leading East Perth 4 goals, 3. The crowd starting to find their voice again now as East Perth record those 2 quick goals and start to bridge this gap that the Perth side have opened up in the second quarter of the 1968 Grand Final. You're watching it on Channel 7. There you can see 21 minutes into this, the second quarter. Up go the ruckman again. Chittlebarrow this time. Can't get the ball away. In goes Milson. Out with the ball comes Dalton. Up to the half-forward line. Bounce beats McCauley. Picked up by Ian Miller. Hand pass over to Jensen. Jensen onto the boot quickly. Up into the goal square it goes. Knocked down by Bradley Smith. An opportunity for a Stoney. He's on the ground. Tries to get it over to Bennett. Picked up by Haynes. He's under big pressure there too. Whistle sounding from umpire Scott. He'll bounce this ball down right on the edge of the goal square.
There's the bounce down. Over to the pocket towards Bennett. Push in the back, and Bennett once again to take his kick from left full forward. A silly mistake there by the East Perth players. John Bandy it was, allows Greg Bennett a free in that left full forward pocket. Bennett's kicked 3 goals, and Tini's kicked 3 for East Perth. Here's the Perth rover coming in to have his shot from deep in the pocket. Ian Miller marks the ball about 15 yards out directly in front. Well, a missed kick there by Bennett. And a lucky break for Perth. Ian Miller takes the kick about 15 yards out directly in front. There's a young Perth forward going back to have his kick. And through for 4 points to Perth.
Very good mark to Ian Miller there. Stood his ground in front of Haynes and with a good grip of the ball, made no mistake, bringing up another goal to the Perth side.
8 goals, 7 Perth. 4 goals, 3 East Perth. About the 22nd minute mark. in this second quarter of the 1968 Grand Final.
As you say, Bob, you can't afford to give away free kicks in front of goals in a match like the Grand Final.
You certainly can't, Jack. The breeze still very tricky, but still favouring the Perth end towards which Perth are kicking. There's a big knock from Philip Horn to centre half back. Bob Shields trying to pick it up, Tank. Plenty of punishment there. Tries to give it a Cable. Gillespie carries him to the ground. And in the back. Gillespie ran him to the ground there, and Cable must take the kick in the centre of the ground.
Didn't carry him forward, though. Could have been holding the ball.
There's a kick from Cable. It's a good one towards the flank. And Macaulay in front this time takes the mark. A good mark there to Ken Macaulay. Macaulay, a kick out towards the flank. And there's a free kick going the way of East Perth there. Some silly mistakes here by both sides giving these free kicks away. Terry Fremantle to take it. Fremantle's kick up towards the right half forward flank. And a good mark there to Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy high in the air to take that one. Once again off the side of his boot. Missed by Chittleborough. Back comes McCarthy. Ramshaw. Ramshaw's kick out towards the flank. Gary Bygraves battling with Milton. And the ball's gone out of play. 8-7 to 4-3 in favour of the Demons. There's the throw in. No Perth ruckman there at all. Taken by Fremantle. Towards Bandy. There's a kick from Bandy up towards the half forward line. Ian Rothney in the way, and he takes the mark at left half back. Rothney kicking towards the centre. Once again Macaulay taking the mark, playing in front this fellow. Macaulay, not a good kick, goes towards the flank. John Bandy coming in, all on his own. Kicking out towards Garnett, and John Garnett marking the ball at left half forward. Well, John Bandy was allowed to run loose there to take that kick. There's a kick from Garnett, a good one. Towards full forward, a chance here for East Perth in the pocket.
Free kick for pushing the back, Bob, I think.
Free kick going to East Perth here in that left full forward pocket. Hans Verstegen is take the kick. 25 yards out from the East Perth goal. 25 minutes in as Hans Verstegen comes in to take his kick.
That's the kick from the East Perth player, the ball on its way. Once again, a disappointing result for the East Perth side. Another behind goes onto the board for the Royals at 4-4. They trail Perth 8-7. Here's Ramshaw. Graham Ramshaw, the Perth fullback. It's a bad kick into play. There's the two players. Cable with his shadow Gillespie. Cable gets away on this occasion, gets the ball out towards the left centre wing. Milson underneath it, can't take the mark. With him is Bygraves. Both of them wrestling on the ground, and umpire Scott coming over will bounce this ball down midway between the right centre wing and right half forward flank positions for the East Perth side. Good body bump from East Perth on the ruck. Get the ball down. Opportunity now for Verstegen. Shoots the ball up to the half forward line. Taken by Phil Teeney. He's well out at half forward. Hand pass over towards Armanasco. Back it comes towards Teeney again. He's surrounded by Perth defenders. Eventually Rothney gets hold of the ball. And Perth out of trouble again as Mills sends it out towards the right centre wing. Ian Miller after it out there. Bounces awkwardly for that player. Into the air goes Macaulay. 26 minutes of play gone, and this is the second quarter. Picked up again by Ian Miller of Perth. There's his kick up over the half-forward flank position. Stoney dropping back with Haynes. Coming out to meet it is Bradley Smith. Haynes in the pocket. Isiger there with him, and also Stoney gets the ball to his boot. Safely over the line and out of bounds in the right full-forward pocket.
Well, a lucky bounce there. Could have meant a goal.
8-7 Perth, 4-4 East Perth. Taken by the Perth side again. There's an opportunity. Graham Edwards, the ruckman, lines up the goals. Off the side of the boot once again, though, and out of bounds it goes once more in that right full forward pocket. There we see about 27 minutes of play gone, and this the second quarter. Pitter went high to try and scoop the ball out the back, picked up by Jim Haynes. Perth players trying to force it out of the scrum there, and umpire Scott will bounce it down again in that right full forward pocket. There goes Fremantle, gets it down to Verstegen, onto the boot and out of bounds once again. We'll play bottled up in the right full forward pocket in the closing minutes of the second quarter of the 1968 Grand Final. Pitter thumps this one. After it goes Cable. Right behind him you can see Gillespie with the tackle. Over it goes now to Mills. Mills gets around Fremantle. There's the kick on its way towards the goals. It's across the face again. Off the fingertips of Jerry Isiger and out of bounds this time in the left full forward pocket for the Perth side. The ball thrown in quickly. Graham and Astoney forced to go for the tap-in. Coming away with it again is Bradley Smith. Gets the ball up towards the half-back line. O'Donoghue into the ears, taking the mark for East Perth. O'Donoghue took a pretty hard knock then. Here's his kick, carrying the ball up over the wing position. Rothney with his eyes on it up from half-back, and Ian Rothney has taken the mark for Perth. Rothney well up from the half-back flank, almost up on the wing. Sends the Demons into attack again towards centre-half forward. Edwards couldn't pull down the mark. Picked up by Graham Jensen. Jensen's tailing towards the goals. Looked like almost a trip. Still after the ball he goes, about 30 yards out from the goals. There it is, the snap from the Perth Rover. And he puts it through for another behind. 28 minutes of play gone now, and this is the second quarter.
Had 3 players to handball there too, Jack.
Could have easily given it to them. I don't know whether he tripped Bob when he went to kick or handball, but certainly wasn't good play from Graham Jensen.
The second quarter drawing to a close now as Bradley Smith kicks in once again towards that grandstand flank. A high punt kick. Fremantle must be holding the ball, and Perth to take their kick. Ian Miller to take his kick on that left half forward flank. 8-8 to 4-4 in favour of the Demons as Miller comes in to take his kick. There's the drop kick towards full forward. Isiger and Smith in the back to Bradley Smith, and Bradley Smith to take the free kick. 29 minutes gone. Bradley Smith battling against odds down there. Big pack of players. Terry Fremantle takes the mark this time in front of the pack. Little bit of byplay there as Fremantle goes back and kicks towards the flank. Knocked away by Rothney, and it's gone out of play in front of the member stand. No quarter given in this grand final. Very tough first quarter, but Perth gone away in this, the second. Pat Dalton. Out towards the flank. Picked up by Pat Dalton once again. There's his kick further afield. Terry Isiger. Bradley Smith. Back towards the flank. Oh, mistakes by both sides here. John King gets it. Out towards the flank, towards Jensen. Well, nobody wants the ball here at the moment. It's still on the flank. Ray Lawrence kicks it in towards centre half forward. Knocked away from Isiger, about 20 yards out from the Perth goal. Pat Dalton, he's in the pocket. Screws it back in towards full forward. Dropped there by Smith. And Smith kicks it finally out of bounds. Well, many mistakes there made by both sides at the 30-minute mark. All players trying to kick goals for Perth. Graham Jensen backhands it towards Dalton. Once again mishandled the ball. Harry Gillespie kicks it in towards the centre-half back position and marked by O'Donoghue. O'Donoghue's missed kick and marked by Ian Rothney. Over to Mal Atwell. Atwell a high kick towards centre-half forward. Graham Edwards, there's his high kick towards full forward. Isiger screwing back in towards full forward. It's a good snap from the full forward. It's through. A beautiful goal there from the boot of Jerry Isiger as we're 31 minutes in.
Channel 7 was set for the bounce down to commence the third quarter of the 1968 grand final. Perth versus East Perth. Up go the ruckman again. Pitter thumps the ball forward for the Royals, taken by Dalton. Dalton's kick gains a few yards towards the wing. Milson on the spot there for Perth. As the ball relayed to the half-forward line, Bennett and Polak there. Polak loses his feet, an opportunity for Bennett. A damaging player for the Demons. He sends a long kick up into the goal square. Over the head of Fremantle it goes. In comes Isiger to gather the ball in the full-forward pocket. Screws it back in front once again. And marked safely in defence by Jim Haynes, almost on the goal line.
Changes in the East Perth side. Bandy onto a wing, by Graves onto the ball.
Here's the kick from Jim Haynes to the half-back line. Malcolm Atwell went high over the top. O'Donoghue takes the ball for the Royals. Kick out to the half-forward flank position. Milson out there for the Perth side. There goes the hand pass over to Chittleborough. Chittleborough thumps on nicely over to Jensen. Jensen tries to get the hand pass over to Cable. Ian Miller comes in to take the ball. Here's the shot from the Perth half forward. Bouncing through the goals. Into the post it goes. Almost the 10th goal of Perth, but it's instead the 9th behind. They go to 9 goals 9 now. They lead East Perth 4 goals 4 in the opening minutes of the third quarter. The ball brought into play by East Perth. And straight down the centre of the ground they come. Taken quickly by Ian Miller again. There's his kick from the half-forward line. Ball sailing towards the goals. Dropping back once again. It's been marked safely by Fremantle. There's the ball landing out on the half-forward line. Almost taken there by King of Perth. Gets the ball over looking for Cable. Barry Cable can't take the mark. Gets it over to Mills. Mills into the full-forward pocket. Stoney there. Bandy diving after the ball, picked up by Stoney again, can't get a boot to it. Bradley Smith trying to burst his way out. Whistle sounding too high, says the umpire. Mills to be awarded the kick and being sent back now to kick the ball over the mark.
In these opening minutes, Brian Haynes has also gone to full back for East Perth, and Bradley Smith's having a run on the ball.
Here's Ray Mills to take this kick from the right half forward flank position for the Perth side. Up towards the Stoney, and the Stoney safely takes the mark for Perth. Stoney to take this kick right next to the shadow of the public stand at Subiaco Oval on the right half forward flank. Puts the ball over towards the centre half forward position. Eddie Pitter soaring into the air, takes the mark out of the fingertips of a Perth player, and he'll kick this ball away from the full back position for the Royals. East Perth with the breeze, straight up to the centre of the position they go, and there's Bradley Smith on the ball now, as Jack said, marking almost in the centre. Kick from Bradley Smith out towards the right half forward flank, looking for Malcolm Brown. With him there is Shields. Brown gathering the ball for East Perth, tries to get it over towards Bandy. Hips and shoulders going in pretty solidly, but Rothney comes out with the ball, sends a long kick right back to full forward once again. Scooped up very quickly by Polak, trying to burst out with it, manages to get the ball over into the pocket. Isager is racing after it over the boundary line there, out of bounds, 3 minutes into this, the third quarter.
No addition to the scoreboard. 9-9 Perth, 4-4 East Perth. There's a series of hits there up in the left full forward pocket, finally taken by Pitter, and he kicks it out of play in that right full back position for East Perth. Well, East Perth needing goals in this quarter, kicking with the breeze. Eddie Pitter, number 30, on the ball, opposed to Barry Chittleborough, 29. And once again, the ball's gone out of play. There's the hit out once again, going the way of Fremantle. Fremantle down towards the centre of the ground, and a good mark there to Mark O'Donoghue. Mark O'Donoghue, the East Perth centre man. A good long drop kick towards full forward, a chance for Phil Teeney, and the full forward takes the mark 40 to 45 yards out directly in front. Phil Teeney has kicked 3. Here he comes, a 6'1", 12-stone full forward, kicked 102 goals this year, coming in for this one. The drop punt, loading goalwards, it looks good from here, it is good, and the 5th goal on the board to East Perth.
Well, that shows the benefit of the breeze there, with 2 big kicks from Bradley Smith and O'Donoghue getting the ball to Teeney. 3 kicks almost down the ground, and Teeney brought up a goal. Certainly this wind is tricky, but if you use it in the correct way, as Perth did in the second quarter, well, it's a big advantage to you.
9-9 to 5-4 in favour of Perth. Stoney getting the tap. Cable trying to pick it up, finally does so. There's his drop kick. Out towards full forward. 2 East Perth players collide. Finally it's kicked back towards the centre and marked there by Ross Milson. Kick in towards full forward. Fremantle looked as though he was holding the ball there. Chance for John King running in towards goals. He's put it through for the 10th goal to Perth.
Well, Bob, as you say, certainly Fremantle looked as though he was holding the ball, and King was able to break away when he did drop the ball and bring up a valuable goal to Perth against the breeze. But Perth still seem to be too strong and too fast for East Perth.
John King, half-forward flanker there with a valuable goal, running on the ball with changing with Graham Edwards alternately on that half-forward flank and Patastoni. Back with umpire Ray Scott. Now Atwell on the ball and Patastoni. Philip Horn for East Perth and Bradley Smith. A good tap goes to Verstegen. Over to Philip Horn. They're trying to run too far, the East Perth players. Holding the ball. Silly play there by East Perth. And the kick going the way of Ray Mills at the 6-minute mark.
Ray Mills just a little backward of the centre to send the Demons into attack again. There's his kick up over the centre line. Ken McCauley brings down a beautiful mark, gets his fingertips to the ball in front of Ian Miller and a pack of players, and he's taken the mark just backward of the centre line. Ken McCauley, 18 years of age, gets the ball out towards the right half-forward flank position for East Perth. Rothney knocks away from the back of the pack, taken by Bradley Smith, gets the ball to Verstegen, over to McCarthy. McCarthy lining up the goals for East Perth. It's on its way. Looks good shot, it's right through the middle. Another goal to East Perth.
Well, better football from East Perth there. Brown getting the ball down and Bradley Smith's using all his strength to barge through that pack and get it out to give McCarthy the opportunity to go in and kick goals. A better type of football from East Perth than they've played for this first half of the game anyway.
East Perth going with the assistance of the breeze in this quarter. It's a do-or-die quarter for them. They still trail 6 goals 4. Perth are leading 10 goals 9. You're watching the third quarter of the 1968 Grand Final on Channel 7. On the bounce down, Verstegen trying to bring the ball away. With him is Mills of Perth. Mills picking it up. There's the ball relayed to the half-forward line. McCauley and Miller in the air again. Comes behind them. Ian Miller trying to come out with it. Does so too in a pack of East Perth players. Once again, the Royals manage to get this ball back towards the centre of the ground. Verstegen with his eyes glued to the ball, gets into the air to take the mark for East Perth. Hans Verstegen relays the ball to the half-forward line. Garnett gets into the front position. Lawrence trying to knock away. Taken by Philip Horn. Horn tries to get it back to Garnett. Taken now by Malcolm Atwell. Atwell with a hand pass gets the ball over to Bennett. Bennett drop kicks up to the half-forward line now for the Demons. Into the air goes Chittleborough, and the big ruckman has taken the mark. 6'4.5", Barry Chittleborough, the tallest player on the ground. And here he is to take his kick. Not a good one. Up towards the half-forward line. Through the legs of Bob Graham. Don't see that happen very often. King tackled solidly. Once again, East Perth managed to relieve the pressure again. Relay it back to the half-forward line. Philip Horn with his eyes on the mark. Couldn't take it. Taken by Ray Lawrence again. Back to the half-forward line. Jensen across. Takes the mark safely at centre half-forward for Perth. There's the kick from Jensen. Relays it up into that right full-forward pocket position. Isager coming out from goals. Almost got a hold of the ball on the second attempt. And it's over the line to be thrown in again at right half-forward. Here's the ruckman. Stoney leaping high, gets the ball down with a nice palm down to Bennett. Bennett kicks it off the side of the boot, and it's out of bounds again in that right full forward pocket. Well, the sun out in full force now in the third quarter of the Grand Final, and a big crowd here enjoying this game. East Perth trying desperately in this the third quarter with the breeze to bridge this gap that the Demons have opened up.
There's a throw-in coming in the forward area for Perth. Bradley Smith to Hans Verstegen. And it's gone out of play once again in that same position. Big Eddie Pitter in there coming in with a big thump, and once again he's knocked it out of play. Both runners on the ground at the moment. Atwell giving instructions and Brian McGregor going over to the East Perth camp. On the half-forward flank, Greg Bennett trying to burst his way through. To John King. A battle on that half-forward flank. Patastoni, there's his kick in towards full forward, and once again it's out of play. The strong cross breeze certainly having a great effect on this Grand Final. Many times out of bound on the member stand flank. Chance for Jensen, going in unattended, screws the ball back, and looked as though once again it's through for the minor score to Perth. Well, the crowd said that was out of bounds up there, but the boundary umpire waving 1 point. Jim Haynes playing fullback in this quarter, kicking into play a long punt kick towards centre half forward. O'Donoghue taken by Chittleborough in towards half forward. Ken McCauley in front, and he will take the kick. Ken McCauley, a little bit of a knock there as he went down, going back now to take his kick at centre half back. There's a young halfback kicking down towards the flank. Ross Milson in there. Bob Shields. Shields bursting away there. Boots the ball up towards the forward pocket. Cable there takes the mark. Cable there battling with Pollack. Cable between left half and left full forward, about 40 yards out from the Demon goal. Well, the breeze going across the ground. He's not actually going against it, but the drop kick will float in on that flank, and it's floating in, and it's through for full points. A good goal there once again to the Demons.
Beautiful kick from Cable, Bob. Took his time going back with that and allowing the breeze to drift the ball back, as you said, and the goal umpire not moving in the square at all. Perth certainly putting the pressure on against the breeze.
11-10 Perth, 6-4 East Perth. There's the windsock, still blowing fairly strong towards the city end of the ground, towards East Perth King. We'll have a look at that later in the quarter. There's the bounce down. Terry Fremantle bursting through to Richie Rigg, all on his own down there. Out to Ray Lawrence. Good combination here by Perth. Ray Lawrence kicking up towards the flank. It's all East Perth here, and Mark O'Donoghue takes the mark. Mark O'Donoghue running away unattended. The drop kick over towards the centre, and a good mark there to John Garnett at the 12-minute mark.
Here's Garnett, backward of half forward, out towards McCarthy on the right half forward flank, puts the ball onto the chest of that player, and East Perth now with an opportunity from the right half forward flank position. Players dropping back into the goal square. East Perth searching for a goal. There's the kick. It's a long one from McCarthy, right into the teeth of goals it goes. Off hands, thumped through the points for the East Perth side by the back pocket player for Perth, Richie Rigg. You can see the wind blowing very, very strongly through the windsock. You look at the ground, you'll see the papers blowing very, very briskly in the streamers across the ground too, as Ramshaw comes in once again to take his kick into play. Goes for the short one this time to Cable. Hits the Rover on the chest with the ball. Cable relays it to the far side of the ground, looking for Rothney out there. Rothney with several yards break on his opponent, takes the ball around the far side of the ground, up towards the wing position. Armanasco in the way. Sends it back to the half-forward line. An opportunity for Philip Horn of East Perth. Has Cable between he and the goals. Gets around Cable. There's the kick from the East Perth ruckman, floating towards the goals. Goal umpire says a good enough kick, and it's right through.
Well, East Perth need about another 5 of those, Brian, to really lift them. But that ball drifted in with the breeze then to the joy, I'm sure, of every East Perth player. And a goal like that at this stage of the game certainly lifts the side. And let's hope that East Perth can put a little bit more into it than they have at the present time. Rather a disappointing effort.
Been some good angle shots kicked from that pocket, Jack, during the finals.
Well, that's the spot where they've been all kicking them, Bob, as you say, and they certainly go through the centre.
11 goals 10 to Perth. They lead East Perth 7 goals 5. Umpire Scott bounces the ball once again in the centre. Up they go. Pitter thumps the ball hard. Taken now by Pat Dalton of Perth. There's the kick from the Perth player up to the half-forward line. In the way again is Ken McCauley, playing strongly across the half-back line for the East Perth side. McCauley shoots the ball over to centre half-back. Fortunately, into the hands of Malcolm Brown. East Perth trying to get this ball over to the scoring side of the ground. Relay it up further up the ground. There's the player being held without the ball, and he'll take this kick just backward of the centre line. Brent Armanasco, the player to take it. There's his kick out towards the right half-forward flank position. A big pack gathering there. Picked up by Ian Rothney. Gets the ball over to Ross Milson. Milson's kick to the half-forward line for the Demons. Bennett after it with him as Pollack. Over the boundary line again, the ball to be thrown in at left half-forward.
Armanasco looks in trouble on the half-back flank for East Perth.
Armanasco limping rather badly. Up go the ruckman again. Pitter thumps the ball once more. East Perth trying to force it forward from their right centre wing position. Here's O'Donoghue bringing it away for them. Manages to get a kick into the ball up towards half-forward. Ian Rothney trying to gather it. Several players overrunning the ball. Out it goes to Philip Horn. Cable going in hard for Perth. There's the Rover bringing it away again from the defensive zone for the Demons. Gets the ball back towards the wing position. Whistle sounding. The mark has been awarded out there to whom? Somebody in the middle of that pack.
It's O'Donoghue, but he's a bit lucky to get it.
Yes, a very lucky mark there, I think, to Mark O'Donoghue, but he's taking the kick on that right centre wing. And there's Laurie Bennett, the reserve, going on the ground for East Perth. Looks like Armanasco's off. There's the ball down towards the forward area. Cable bringing it away again. There's his kick up towards the centre, looking for a Stoney, but Gillespie's in the way. Gillespie tackle, gets his kick, and it's marked by Malcolm Atwell at centre half-back. Malcolm Atwell, 216 games to his credit, and his 16th appearance. There's Armanasco going off the ground. Bad luck there for Brent Armanasco. And this is the grand final. Out to Bob Shields. He takes the mark on the half-back flank. Bob Shields, a short one into Graham Edwards. Perth slowing the game down now against the breeze. Edwards kicking out towards the flank and taken by Ross Milson.
Doing it very comfortably, Bob. East Perth very loose on this occasion.
Ross Milson with a high kick towards the left full forward pocket. Edgiger there. Edges Jim Haynes out of the way, and Jim Haynes to take the kick. Many free kicks given away by both sides in this grand final. A lot of push in the back, the front man being paid all day by umpire Scott. The kick from Haynes is a drop kick down towards the centre. Many East Perth players in there. Out towards centre half forward, John Garnett. Over towards Gillespie. Barry Gillespie on the flank, gets his kick towards centre half forward, and curly marked there by Ian Rothney. Under Cable. There's a kick from Cable. Missed there by Miller, in towards Dalton. John King, too high, says umpire Scott. John King quickly plays on, kicks it towards full forward. Jensen comes out with it. And a mistake there by two Perth players allows Bradley Smith in. Polak too slow to get rid of it. Eddie Pitter, and Pitter kicks it out towards a half-back flank. Ross Milson. Milson coming in that forward pocket. Plenty of speed, this fellow. Gets his kick. And a beautiful mark there, right on the goal line to Jim Haynes. Well done, Jim Haynes. Threw himself at the ball to save a certain goal there for Perth. The kick from Jim Haynes out towards half-back line. Ray Mills. Ray Mills battling with Gillespie, but it's picked up by O'Donoghue. Shoots it down to McCarthy. Back to O'Donoghue. There's a kick towards full forward. Chance here for East Perth. Held onto the player, says umpire Scott, and the ball bounced about 25 yards out from the East Perth goals as we're 18 minutes in. Brian Thurley.
Thank you, Bob. The bounce down from umpire Scott. Philip Horn in front, tries to get the ball down. In goes Bandy. Out to the ball comes Phil Teeney. His kick smothered by a Perth player. After the ball goes Ramshaw. Pace to the boundary line. Ramshaw throwing himself after it. Cable going in with a hip and a shoulder too. Bandy after the ball again for East Perth. Has to get around the Perth Raver. There goes the hand pass. Brought away again by the reliable Rothney, and Rothney kicks the ball up into the centre of the ground. Taken by East Perth. Handball on quickly to Gillespie. An opportunity for the Royals. The kick from Gillespie going up into the teeth of goals. Teeney in the air. Can't mark the ball. Opportunity for Bygraves getting around with it. He's put right through the middle.
Ah, freak goal. Bygraves whipped that over with a left foot over his shoulder like a bullet to bring up that goal for East Perth. They're fighting hard down there, but they're still making mistakes. But certainly doing all they can to try and get back into this game.
11 goals, 10 Perth. They lead East Perth 8 goals, 5. East Perth fighting back today in their 22nd grand final. 12 times they've been premiers, 9 times runners-up, and the last 2 years runners-up to the side they're playing today in Perth. Here's Bradley Smith forcing them into attack again. Out the ball comes to Gillespie. Gillespie relays it to half forward in the way of Shields. Can't take the mark. Opportunity again for East Perth. Two East Perth players wait for the ball. Dalton goes in to pick it up. In goes Bennett. Forces it out of the pack. Coming out now to Mills. Mills up towards the wing. Over towards Malcolm Atwell. The captain coach sends the Demons into attack up towards Ian Miller. Can't get to the ball. Macaulay quick to sweep on it. Shoots the hand pass over. Bounces awkwardly in the centre of the ground. Milson trying to come out with it now for Perth. Polak in there too. Tries to get the ball over to Bennett. The whistle sounded in the meantime, and umpire Scott will bounce this ball down almost in the centre of the ground.
Crowd certainly trying to urge East Perth forward to make this game close.
Up goes King to get the tap into the ball. Over towards Bradley Smith. Smith gets the ball back to Malcolm Brown. Brown's kick up over half forward. Verstegen dropping back. Shields after him too. Taken away by hands Verstegen. Out to Eddie Pitter. Over down to Garnett. Garnett can't get a beat of the ball. Picked up by Ray Lawrence. He gets it over to Bob Shields. Shields tries to dive over the top of the pack. On top of each other they go.
Oh, look at that pack. Bob Shields by the ankle. Must get the kick there, but a pack quickly gathered, as you saw.
Still plenty of shoving, Bob, and pushing. Goal umpires coming over. Boundary umpire Ray Scott on the spot too. Settling the players down and moving them out. A Listen to the reaction from the crowd. Here's the kick to be taken by Bob Shields. There's the kick by Shields. Puts the ball to the half-back flank position. Here's an opportunity again for East Perth. They relay the ball over to centre-half forward. McCarthy calling for it into the air, and he takes the mark. Oh, Kevin McCarthy, he's at centre-half forward. East Perth badly needing goals now as they gradually bridge this gap. Kick from McCarthy. It's plenty of distance, plenty of direction too.
Tremendous goal from McCarthy. A long torpedo punch spiralling in with the breeze to bring East Perth a little closer to this Perth side. And I notice the Perth runner on the ground talking with Atwell now, and Perth realising that East Perth are coming back at them very strongly.
Second goal to McCarthy, 11-10 Perth, 9-5 East Perth. Certainly a life coming back into the game in the latter part of this third quarter.
Blue and black streamers starting to break out around the ground now, Bob.
Yes, East Perth still with the advantage of the breeze. About the 21-minute mark in the 1968 Grand Final. Knocked away by Horn, out towards the flank. There's no wingman there for Perth, and Mark O'Donoghue picks it up. There's his kick towards centre-half forward. Free kick going the way of Bygraves, it is, Gary Bygraves, on the half-forward flank. Bygraves, the long kick in towards full forward. Many hands on the ball. Out it comes to Ray Lawrence. Lawrence to Mills, but he can't get it, and it's gone out of play at right half-back for Perth. 17 points the difference. Bradley Smith takes it, been a grand player for East Perth in this quarter. Down towards full forward. Here's a chance for East Perth, but it's knocked through by Ramshaw for 1 point. Another point to the Royals, makes them 9-6. Perth 11-10. Kick in from Ramshaw is a quick one. Over the head of the pack, picked up by Bandy. And Pat Dalton nullifies the play of John Bandy and puts it out of play. East Perth certainly exerting the pressure in this third quarter. On the half-forward flank, Philip Horn trying to come away. Bygraves in front of the stand. Bennett has just come on the ground for East Perth. And the ball will be thrown in. Bradley Smith played a good game for East Perth in this quarter, transferred to the ball. There's the kick going the way of John Bandy on that left centre wing. John Bandy running loose, nobody on his mark. There's his kick, a high one towards the forward line. Philip Horn in front, and Philip Horn takes the mark 40 yards out directly in front of the East Perth goal. Well, East Perth gradually bridging this gap. Philip Horn, the East Perth ruckman, coming back with a drop punt. It looks good from here. And the 10th goal on the board to the Royals.
Well, a good effort to Horn there. He made a few mistakes a few moments ago, but certainly took that mark in front of the pack and brought up another valuable goal to Perth, to East Perth, as the crowd urged them forward to try and peg back the lead.
24 minutes gone. 11-10 Perth, 10-6 East Perth. 10 points the difference. And East Perth certainly revitalised in this third quarter. Ray Mills taking it up towards centre-half forward. Chittleborough over to Astoney. Kick from Astoney's not a good one. Into the pocket. Chance for Riesinger, but it's socked out of bounds there by the East Perth backman, and a throw-in to take place. A throw-in in the right full forward pocket in the Perth territory. Jensen trying to burst his way through. Push in the back, says umpire Scott, and Graham Jensen to take his kick deep in that right full forward pocket. 25 minutes gone in the third quarter.
Graham Jensen, now Perth looking for a goal after East Perth have made this continual thrust at them through this quarter. Here's the kick from the Perth player. Right into the teeth of goals it goes. Bob Graham diving after the ball, and it's through for another behind. Is the ball into play very, very quickly. Taken away by Verstegen. Puts the ball up towards O'Donoghue on the half-back flank. Finds that player. O'Donoghue marking safely. O'Donoghue relays the ball up to Verstegen again, almost on the wing position. Pitter calling for the ball in the centre of the ground. And here's the kick from East Perth. They put it up to their half-forward flank position. McCarthy pushed out of the way by Rothney, not seen by umpire Scott, but by everybody else. Up to the half-forward line it goes again, taken by Barry Cable in the centre. Hand passed over to Dalton. Dalton puts the Demons into attack with a drop kick up to full forward. Miller it is, and Haynes. Miller taking the ball. Tackled solidly by Jim Haynes behind him. They fight for it on top of the deck, as you can see, diving on top of it. And umpire Scott coming down the ground will bounce this ball down. 26 minutes in now to this, the third quarter of the 1968 Grand Final. You're watching it on Channel 7. Go the ruckman again. East Perth trying to force it away. Picked up by Bennett. Bennett kicks over towards the grandstand flank. The race on after the ball now. King coming across after it. Mills it was, and also Gary Gillespie, and it's out of bounds on the half-forward flank. Ruckman sprinting up the ground to get there for this boundary throw-in. Pitter the first to arrive at the ball. Cable going after it now for the Demons. There's the hand pass from Cable, gets the ball over to Dalton. Dalton sends it up to the full forward position again, and it's marked safely in defence again by Ken McCauley. Ken McCauley been fighting hard in this quarter for the East Perth side. Kicks the ball out to the half-back flank position. There's Milson getting high in the air. Plays on quickly. A hand pass over to Dalton. Dalton with a hand pass to the unattended Jensen. Jensen lining up the goals for Perth. Right up into the teeth of them it goes. Knocked away by Ian Miller. Picked up by Bob Graham in the last line of defence. Here he is bringing it around the grandstand flank, and Graham kicks the ball out towards the wing position again. Gillespie going after it. Williams Mills. Both these players fighting desperately for the ball. Picked up by Gillespie. He's dragged down by Ray Mills. And once again, they take the ball over the line to be thrown into play. 27 minutes of play gone in the third quarter. Down to Cable. In goes Mills. Cable again. Bandy. Stoney. Pitter going in on top of
holding the ball there.
The third player. Football. And umpire Scott bouncing this ball down again. There's not much quarter given in this game at the present time. Out the thump comes again, taken away by Barry Cable. There's the familiar bounce as he sends the Demons into attack again. A good long kick up to full forward. East Perth in front. They shoot out the hand pass once again. The race on now. Jensen going after the ball. Picked up by Bradley Smith out of the back pocket. Smith kicks towards the centre of the ground into the hands of O'Donoghue. O'Donoghue relays the ball to the half-forward line. McCarthy over the top of Rothney. Taken again, though, by Bob Shields. Kicks back into the centre. Patterstone on the spot. A whistle sounding. He's been awarded the mark that he was juggling for several seconds, and he'll kick this ball from the centre of the ground. 28 minutes of play gone. Bob Miller.
Thank you, Brian. Patterstone, the Perth ruckman in the centre. Kicking out towards the flank. Looking for Bennett, and Bennett takes the mark at right half forward. Milliker and Isiger have switched places. Isiger to centre half forward, Miller to full forward. Greg Bennett coming in, deep in that pocket. A drop kick towards full forward. Jensen trying to get a bit through. Comes Bob Graham. A high kick from Graham down towards the half-forward line. Shields battling with Garnett. Out comes Shields. Kicks it back to the centre, and it's taken by Pat Dalton. Dalton's kick up towards the forward line. Jensen there battling on that half-forward flank. Short pass in, but it's gone astray and marked by Larry Bennett. 29 minutes into the third quarter. Desperate football now by both sides. Kick in towards the centre. Eddie Pitter in front, but he can't mark it. Through comes Malcolm Brown. Out towards the flank. Rothney can't pick it up. Finally does so. Gives it to Atwell. Atwell, a short kick to King. And there's the siren. A good quarter there by East Perth. Perth, 11 goals, 11, 77. East Perth, 10 goals, 6, 66. We welcome viewers at home now for three-quarter time here at the Subiaco Oval. 11-11 Perth, 10-6 East Perth. Comments on the quarter, Jack Sheedy.
Well, Bob, East Perth made many changes at the start of the third quarter, and they've met with some measure of success, although...
Here's the bounce. Up go the ruckman. Philip Horn gets the tap for East Perth. Taken by Gillespie. He's grabbed pretty high. All habits as umpire Scott. Looked like a kick from the grandstand, and he bounces the ball again next to the centre circle. In goes Jensen, trying to come out with it. Picked up now by Gillespie, bursting out again for East Perth. Into attack they go into the breeze. Two Perth players colliding there, but the mark is safely taken by Graham Ramshaw. Graham Ramshaw of the Perth side sends the ball straight up the centre of the ground. Up the centre half forward it goes. Crumbs picked up quickly by Bandy. Out towards the wing. Chiddleborough setting himself. Knocked away by O'Donoghue. Cable arriving on the spot for Perth. Here he goes with a hand pass. Out it comes to Rothney. Rothney's defended strongly. He gets the ball back to the half-forward line for the Demons. Laurie Bennett dives after it and takes a good mark for East Perth.
Bennett, the reserve, on the ground in place of Armin Asko.
Kick's not a good one. Bob kicks into the man on the mark. Here's Greg Bennett. His opposite number grabbing the ball. Bennett out on the half-forward line. Sends it on its way towards the goals. It's a good kick from Greg Bennett. Into the post and goes.
Second post of the Perth and one to East Perth today.
Greg Bennett, a very, very damaging player for the Demons. When East Perth were watching Cable very, very solidly, he did a lot of damage. The short kick into Bob Graham in the back pocket, and that player accepts the mark. Graham's kick with another short pass out to Ken McCauley. East Perth looking for the loose man up the ground, and here's McCauley to take his kick from the half-back line. Relays the ball to a pack gathering on the wing. Malcolm Brown had his name written on that one. There his kick goes towards the half-forward flank position. Rothney gets his hands to it, can't take the mark. McCarthy trying to gather it, over now to Philip Horn, tackled by Barry Cable. In goes Rothney again. Whistle sounding in the meantime. There's the kick going the way of East Perth. Philip Horn, the player, to take it at right half forward. A kick from the East Perth player, puts the ball right up to full forward. Opportunity for Phil Teeney in the pocket, tackled solidly. Tries to go straight through Barry Cable over the top of him, and umpire Scott coming over will bounce this ball down again in the full forward pocket. Malcolm Atwell trying to thump at the ball. Bradley Smith trying to force it out for East Perth. There's the kick over into the teeth of goals once again. Players lose the ball momentarily. Forced away again by big Barry Chiddleborough. Now they race on the far side of the ground. Ray Mills takes it on the wing, puts it up to the half-forward flank position. John King there. The ball smothered by Laurie Bennett. Bennett gets it to the boot and gets it over the line and out of bounds once again on the centre wing.
There's the throw-in on that right centre wing. John King in there, gives it to Pat Dalton. Dalton kicking towards the half-forward line. Nobody home for Perth, and Bob Graham takes the mark. There's Philip Horn all on his own. Bit of the kick's gone to Dalton. Dalton down towards Izziger at full forward. Jim Haynes with him. Haynes battling with Izziger. Haynes in front down there in that left full forward pocket. Well played, Jim Haynes. Comes out with the ball. Oh, mistake there by two players. Ray Mills coming in. Ray Mills, the kick's gone astray and into the arms of Ken McCauley. Well, many mistakes being made by all players in a very tight last quarter. McCauley's kick towards the flank. Ross Milson, but he can't take it. Chiddleborough. Milson well knocked on by Ross Milson. Pat Dalton. Dalton's kick down towards the forward line. And marked there by Pat Astani. A valiant attempt there by Astani. Threw his body at the ball to bring that one down. Pat Astani, the Perth ruckman, about 45 to 50 yards out. There's a torpedo punt kick drifting off. Offline, and 1 point only to Perth to bring their score to 11-13. 10-6 East Perth. 1-7 the difference. You're seeing the grand final 1968 through Channel 7 at the Subiaco Oval. Bob Graham taking the kick into play. Up towards centre half forward and marked there by Graham Jensen. A bad kick in there from Bob Graham.
No East Perth players in front of the pack there when Graham was kicking in for that kick in.
Kick from Jensen. Won't get the distance and marked by Astoni. Astoni 15 yards out directly in front. This one could be a vital goal in this grand final as Astoni goes back to kick. It looks good from here and it's through for full points to Perth.
Well, not a very good kick out by Bob Graham there, and the Perth players playing in front of the pack were able to get the ball back. Astoni taking a good mark and kicking his second goal of the match.
12-13 to 10-6 in favour of East Perth, and Pat Astoni, a very good ruckman for Perth all year, played 141 games for the Demons and certainly pulled his weight today. 95 points to 66 in favour of Perth. Kicking with the breeze in this last quarter. Knocked by Pitter. Malcolm Brown bursting his way through the centre, up towards the half-forward line. Disputed mark there is going the way of John Garnett. And John Garnett took a knock there and went down. Didn't see that, Jack.
No,
the ball
one of the players kicked it into
Garnett.
his face. Garnett taking the kick, Bob.
Bill Tierney, is it? Polak it is. Garnett taking the kick out towards the half-forward line. Richie Rigg in front, and he takes the mark. Bad luck there for East Perth. 6 minutes into the final quarter.
There's the ball put to the half-back flank position, looking for Pat Doldrin over the line before he can get to it. And it'll be thrown into play. 12-13 Perth. They lead East Perth 10 goals 6. There's the ball shot out again. An opportunity for East Perth. Bygraves, it is down in the full forward pocket. Shoots the ball across towards the goals, but out of bounds it goes once again in that left full forward pocket position.
Further changes by East Perth. McCarthy to full forward and Tierney to a half forward flank.
Ruckman getting set once again for this boundary throw. Pitter. East Perth trying desperately to force it through for another goal, and Perth trying to get it out. Pitter going in. Out of the ball goes McCarthy, screws it back on the edge of the goal square once again. Rigg after it. John Bandy on top of the ball on the ground, trying to shovel it out to a teammate. Picked up by Verstegen, snaps it onto the boot. And it's out of bounds once again in the right full forward pocket this time. Well, Perth holding the lead. 12-13 to 10 goals 6. Perth appearing in their 12th grand final. They've won the pennant only 4 times, of course twice in the last 2 years, and they're trying for their 3rd in a row against East Perth. Stoney gets the tap into it. Taken by Philip Horn from the pocket. Puts it to his boot and gets it through for another behind of the Royals. Their tally now goes to 10-7. Graham Ramshaw to bring this ball in from the goals again for Perth. The kick's a low one, not a good one, into the hands of Bandy. Drops the mark. Here's Bandy from half forward, sending it back to the full forward zone again. Almost marked by a Perth player. Opportunity for Bygraves it was, snaps it onto the boot, and he's put it right through the middle.
Well, a fantastic goal by Bygraves again. He's kicked 2 of these goals from snapshots in the forward pocket, and certainly a handy one for East Perth to put them back close to the Perth side.
12-13 now, Perth. East Perth 11 goals 7. And the pressure really on both these sides. Perth with the advantage of the breeze, and East Perth coming back at them solidly into it in this the final quarter. Bounce down again at the grand final. 1968, you're watching it on Channel 7. Players trying to force it out of the centre once again. Here's Perth bursting out with the ball. No one can do much with it in the centre. Now Mills trying to come away. He's tackled solidly. Polak after the ball. Turfing the ball, says umpire Scott. And East Perth win the kick. Malcolm Brown, the player to take it. There's Brown's kick up to the half-forward line. Barry Cable on the spot. Snaps it onto the boot quickly. Back towards Malcolm Brown. Knocked away from him by Jensen. The mark has been awarded, though. And once again, Malcolm Brown to take the kick from the centre of the ground. Malcolm Brown up to the half-forward line. Cable into the air, and a beautiful mark from the Raver. 5'6", the smallest player on the ground, and he's brought it down safely. Shoots the hand pass over, and Perth out of trouble again. Up to the half-forward line. Greg Bennett after the ball. Bob Graham coming in. Taken now by Ian Miller. Ian Miller with a hand pass over to John King. John King sends the ball up on the edge of the square. Haynes and Isager, the only players up there. Dipping in comes Bradley Smith. Smith gets the ball to his boot, bouncing towards the boundary line. There it goes over the line. Meanwhile, Barry Cable on the deck, up on the half-back line for the East Perth side.
12-13 to 11-7. There's Barry Cable being attended by the trainers. Looks like he's having leg trouble out there. The ball in the forward area. Over the back of the pack to Jensen. There's the snap kick from Graham Jensen, drifting towards full forward, offline, and through once again for the minor score to Perth. Well, East Perth certainly throwing everything into this last quarter. And tired players on both sides. And Jim Haynes takes the kick into play towards the member stand flank. Ross Milson, a great mark this fellow. And Ross Milson, the Perth winger, once again brings down the mark.
Taking some beautiful marks today on the wing, Milson. Certainly a brilliant young player.
There's Ross Milson kicking in towards full forward. Terry Isager trying to come away with it, battling hard there in the pocket. Through comes Bob Graham. Bob Graham shoots it out towards the flank, but a stray from the hands of Mark O'Donoghue and out of play. Barry Cable still on the deck up there. Well, this is vital for Perth. If he stays there, they'll certainly be in trouble. Jensen. And umpire Scott the rebounds down on the left half forward flank for Perth. Tense moment in this last quarter. Cable on his feet. O'Donoghue over to Bygraves. Bygraves kick in towards centre half forward over the head of Shields, but through comes Richie Rigg. Towards Ray Mills. Ray Mills gets his foot to the ball, puts it over towards the flank, and it's marked there by Bob Graham. Wild kicking by both sides in this quarter. There's the kick back towards the flank. Knocked away from Milson by Horn and out of play, this time at left half forward. Edwards getting a tap, but it goes to Horn. Big pack of players there once again, and umpire Ray Scott to bounce it down. 12-14 to 11, 1-7 the difference in favour of Perth. Gillespie taking it. Russ Mills to Atwell. Atwell's kick in towards half forward, and Macaulay marks. A good mark there to Ken Macaulay. 12 minutes into the last quarter.
Ken Macaulay in trouble, Bob, on the half-back line. Whether he'll be able to take his kick, I don't know. He doesn't look too fit at all at the present time.
I think he landed on the ball there, Brian. It's probably knocked the wind out of him.
Trainers are swooping onto the ground in all directions at the present time. Looks
One
like
shoulder, I think, when he fell, on the point of the shoulder it appeared, and according to the trainers, Macaulay looks in quite a lot of trouble.
The ball's been handballed out to Bob Graham. Out towards the wing position it goes, forced over the boundary line once again. I don't know whether they're calling for a stretcher, I think, for Ken Macaulay on the half-back line. In comes the boundary throw-in once again. Edwards in front, taken by Malcolm Brown. Brown gets the ball to the half-forward line. Big pack in the air. Malcolm Brown out with the air. After the ball comes Cable. Cable's kick going to the half-forward line. Kick relayed down the ground and will be taken here by Graham Jensen. Macaulay going onto the stretcher in the meanwhile. There's the kick from Jensen. About 20 yards out from the goals. Picked up again by Jim Haynes. Haynes to the half-back line. The applause for Ken Macaulay being stretchered off the ground. Bad luck for this player. And there's the mark going the way of Pat Stoney.
Bad luck for Ken Macaulay coming off the ground. Played a good game, this fellow.
Great player, Bob, only 18 years of age. And David Whittle running onto the ground now to add some strength to the East Perth side. Ken Macaulay, as you can see, being stretchered off there as the Stoney comes in to take the kick, and he puts it right through the middle to bring up the 13th goal for Perth.
Paddy Stoney, his third goal of the match so far, being quite a damaging player when resting in the forward line. And Perth starting to draw away from East Perth now. Stronger, faster side and have played the better football, not only for the season but also on the day-to-day.
Looks as though Malcolm Brown's gone to centre half back, Jack.
Brown to centre half back.
13-14 to 11-7. The score in favour of the Demons. Bounce down once again. East Perth get the thump. Taken by Cable. Cable's kicked the half forward. Here's a Stoney getting into the front position. Can't take the mark though. Out it comes to Bennett. Picked up by Mark O'Donoghue. O'Donoghue's kicked towards the wing position. And it's over the boundary line once again for another throw-in. David Whittle just on the ground for East Perth, coming across to contest this boundary throw-in.
We've got three ruckmen there at the present time. I don't know where they all come from.
Up they go. Cable sweeping in again. Comes out with the ball for Perth. There's the drop kick up to full forward. Isiger and Haynes battling up there. Look at the wrestle going on between these two. Haynes comes out, gets his feet to the ball, and it's over the boundary line and out of bounds once again.
Certainly a great shoving match going on there, Jack, between these two.
Struggle, these two. Certainly Haynes handling Isiger better than Bradley Smith did early in the game.
Once again, the ruckman are set for this boundary throw-in. Eddie Pitter there. He's been called.
Peter Bruce, the boundary umpire, throwing it in.
Here we go once again. Up go the ruckman, reaching for that tap. After the ball goes Verstegen. He's tackled solidly. Once again, they force it over the boundary line. Will be thrown into play in the left full forward pocket. Pitter goes high from behind, down towards Bandy. He loses it. Picked up by Bennett. And once again, thumped over the boundary line in that left full forward pocket.
13-14 to 11-7, midway through this final quarter of the 1968 grand final. There it is in the left full forward pocket for Perth. The back of the pack, a chance for East Perth to come away. John Bandy kicking towards the flank. Over the head of Milson this time. John King, but he can't get to it. Finally smothered by John King. Gets his foot to the ball towards Tittleborough. It's over his head. Bob Graham coming in. Bob Graham kicking towards the flank, defensive play, and out once again.
East Perth, Bob, have got to get the ball away from this flank and go down the centre of the ground if they've got any hope at all of getting back into the game.
David Whittle, the new player on the ground for East Perth, opposed to Graham Edwards and Mel Apple. Through comes John Bandy towards the flank. And once again, it's out of play in front of the member stand. 2 goals, 7 the difference in the final quarter of the 1968 grand final at Subiaco Oval. Here comes Graham Jensen racing away towards the forward line. Kicking over towards the forward line, but the kick's gone astray and marked by Bennett. Laurie Bennett out towards the flank. Gillespie and Gary Gillespie, a fighting mark there to Gillespie. There's his kick once again towards the flank, and once again it's out of play. Some tired players out there, Jack.
Certainly tiring, Bob. The physical clashes in that first quarter took a lot out of the players, but to East Perth's credit, they're fighting on. But as I say, they've got to get the ball away from this flank.
Graham Edwards. Over to Jensen's good football. Jensen kicking wildly to no man's land once again. And Haynes relieves the pressure. The back of the pack to David Whittle. Whittle having trouble picking it up, finally does so. Gives it to O'Donoghue. Up to half forward. Kevin McCarthy. Here's a chance for East Perth. John Bandy it is, trying to work his way around there. Kevin McCarthy. Here's the kick from East Perth up towards full forward. Bygrave's trying to battle his way through. The kick smothered. There's the snap kick. That's gone out of play. No, it's not. It's still in play in that left full forward pocket. No, says the boundary umpire.
Well, there were 3 East Perth players there with plenty of an opportunity for one of them to kick it, but they played against one another.
Boundary umpire Devine said out of play. Edwards gets it, dumps it in. Snap kick from East Perth and through for 1 point. 18-minute mark in the final quarter. Brian Thurley.
Thank you, Bob Miller. The ball to be kicked into play once again. 18 minutes into this, the final quarter of the 1968 grand final. You're watching it on Channel 7. And here's the ball into play from Graham Ramshaw. Goes to the far side of the ground with the kick. And base brought down by East Perth. Players pretty tired. They try to force it out of this pack again over there. Out it goes to Verstegen. Verstegen gets caught over down to Gillespie. Gillespie lining up the goals for the Royals. Right through the middle, and another goal to East Perth. An East Perth player on the deck over there too, Jack.
One down, I think it's Teeny, but great play by Gillespie there to get that ball through the goal for him and still enliven the interest. Surely this is not going to be a repetition of our first semi-final and also our final last Saturday. Verstegen up on his feet again.
Now East Perth fighting back desperately in this final quarter. 13-14 to 12 goals 8. The scoreboard shows. Up go the ruckman again. In Cable battling with the ball, gets it over to Estoni. Estoni sent it up to the full forward position. There's Isiger almost marking. Graham comes in, taps the ball over cleverly to Haynes. Haynes onto the boot, coming out to Malcolm Brown. Brown marks safely on the half-back flank. There's the kick from Malcolm Brown. Up towards the wing position it goes. Terry Fremantle can't take the mark. Picked up by Ian Rothney. Rothney grubbers the ball up to the half-forward line. Malcolm Brown in the way again for the East Perth side. Runs with the ball almost to the centre and gets it to the half-forward position. East Perth in the air. There's a good mark going the way of Kevin McCarthy. Noel Wilson on the ground now for Perth. Up to the centre half-forward position. Richie Rigg coming across to take it. Gets the hand pass over to Cable. Cable onto the boot. Gets the ball up to the half-forward line once again. Ian Miller coming across. Can't get to the ball. In goes Graham Jensen. Jensen from the half-forward looking for Isiger, and he finds the full forward.
Well, Jensen steady for the first time with those wild shots they've had and found Jerry Isiger.
John King is off. Noel Wilson is on for the Perth side as Jerry Isiger lines up this shot for the Demons. There's the kick from the full forward. Up onto the edge of the square it goes, taken away by Bradley Smith. There's the kick coming out towards Isiger again. Bob Graham runs into Haynes, gets it onto the boot very quickly, and it's over the boundary line once again. desperation coming into this game from both sides. 13-14 to 12 goals 8. 92 points to 80. A 12-point advantage to the Demons. Ruckman reach high again. Brought down by Philip Horn. Handball comes out to Gary Gillespie. Gillespie's kick up towards the wing. Bygraves dropping back. Rothney there. Bounce beats him. After it goes Milson. Milson winning the ball for Perth. Shoots the hand pass back to Ian Rothney. Handball back to Milson. Shot over now again to Bob Shields. Shields gets the ball up towards the wing. Fremantle gets Barry Cable out of the way. Up comes Greg Bennett too. Picked up now by Cable. He's at left half forward. Going for a run down the flank. Tries to draw the East Perth player. Gets the hand pass with the whistle gone. Too far, says the umpire.
Well, bad luck for Cable there. He was trying to draw that player. Just went that yard too far. And the kick gone against him. Still 12 points of difference as Bob Graham, the acting captain for East Perth, taking his kick. What a tense grand final here. The large crowd enjoying it now, this fight back. Bob Graham, not a good kick. And Pat Dalton marks it on the left centre wing. Well, a lucky kick here either way, could win this one. Pat Dalton taking his kick. A high torpedo punt kick towards the forward area. And Malcolm Brown in front takes the mark. Malcolm Brown with a good drop kick. There's a chance for Bygraves over the half-forward line. Bygraves running towards full forward. There goes his kick. Ramshaw setting himself. Knocks it away. Here's a chance for East Perth. Up towards the square and it's gone out of play. Well, a golden opportunity there.
Again, two East Perth players knocking one another over in the square.
Well, it's in the East Perth forward area. 92 points to 80 in favour of East Perth. Pitter gets it. Taps it over towards Ray Lawrence. Out towards the flank. Jensen knocks it back towards Dalton. Dalton tries to screw it back. Through comes Fremantle. Fremantle's kick. Two East Perth players. Well, what some tense moments here. Noel Wilson trying to come through. Picked up by Bygraves, and he's straight it in. And there's one goal to difference.
Well, Bygraves is playing on the wing and finished up down in the forward pocket and back-screwed one there to bring up his third goal of the game. Certainly, East Perth, now the crowd are going, 6 points to difference.
Bounce down again. Whittle gets the tap, taken by Verstegen. Verstegen can't get rid of it, taken by Pat Dalton. Perth coming back up towards the half-forward line. Bounce beats several players. Across comes Bradley Smith to gather the ball. With him is a Stoney. And Smith takes it out of bounds in the back pocket position again for East Perth. Tired Ruckman and Rovers coming down the ground for this boundary throw.
Anyone who can lift their legs and get the ball will win this one, Brian.
Desperate play now, Bob, and here's the ball thrown into play once again. Here's Graham bursting out from the full-back position. Gets the ball out to centre half-back. There's a beautiful mark again to Malcolm Brown. Brown gets the ball up over the centre line for the East Perth side. Rothney in the air.
Holy the man.
Down comes Wilson. Play on, says umpire Scott. Malcolm Brown bursting out. The whistle has sounded in the meantime, and umpire Scott coming over will bounce this ball down. "25 minutes of play gone in this, the final quarter of the 1968 Grand Final. Perth trying to force the ball out. Here's O'Donoghue. O'Donoghue's kick going over the boundary line. There it goes out of bounds once again. Ruckman and Rovers set for this throw-in once again. Up they go. Many hands reaching. Noel Wilson trying to come through for Perth. Can't get around O'Donoghue. Out with the ball comes Smith. Gets it over to Polak. Polak with a kick up to the half-forward line. No one can do anything with it up there. Bob Shields fighting for the ball. Perth get it off the side of the boot from Ian Rothney, and it's out of bounds once again. 13-14 Perth. They lead East Perth 13 goals 8. 92 points to 86. 6 points advantage in favour of the Demons. And a pennant for the 1968 season hanging in the balance. From the throw-in, once again, players swamp on top of the ball, and umpire Scott will bounce it down.
There's this desperate football. One kick.
One kick, Bob, one mistake either way. Can win a pennant. Up they go. Whittle thumps the ball for the East Perth side into the hands of Rothney. Rothney sends it back to the half-forward line. Issachar dropping back there for Perth, but it's marked beautifully again by Malcolm Brown. Malcolm Brown starring across the half-back line for East Perth in this final quarter. There's his kick back towards the centre of the ground again. Graham Edwards tries to get it off the ground. Bradley Smith battling in there for East Perth too, trying to burst his way out through Barry Cable. Keeps everything going in. There's the hand pass from East Perth, knocked away by Shields, taken by Chittleborough. The Demons into attack from the boot of Milson. There's Bob Graham, can't take the mark, picked up by Greg Bennett. Whistle has sounded, the mark has been awarded.
That's a very good one.
Well, a handy one to Graham. He stopped the ball certainly, but didn't take the mark. However, umpire Scott's awarded one of them.
26 minutes of play gone. Bob Graham with the ball on the half-back line after a disputed mark. There's the kick from Graham. It's not a good one. Up towards Wilson. He can't handle it. Taken by O'Donoghue. In comes Astoney. Astoney with a high kick. This will land at half-forward. Issachar underneath the ball. A big pack there. Issachar comes down with it. Play on, says umpire Scott. Taken by Paddy Dalton. Dalton gets it over to Jensen. Jensen takes the mark. Into an open goal goes the kick from the Perth player. It's floating in and it's through. Another goal to the Demons.
Good play, Perth. Good play to get the ball down there to Jensen. Jensen on his own and a very tight East Perth back line there, although they've defended very well. Jensen was able to pop that one through for a very valuable goal to Perth.
Not only the East Perth back line that's tight, it's every player on the ground, I think.
They can hardly lift their legs, Bob. The scoreboard shows 14-14 Perth. East Perth 13 goals 8. Players ringed around the bounce down circle again. 27 minutes gone on the final quarter of the 68 grand final. Once again they force it forward. Off the boot of Graham Edwards. Perth gain a few yards. Knocked down again by Astoney. In swoops Greg Bennett. Bennett with a long kick back to full forward. Perth going after the ball. Ian Miller down there. Haynes goes over the top of wheel. An opportunity for Issachar. The whistle sounded in the meantime. Umpire Scott running down the ground.
They're all too tired to get up.
Haynes on the ground with cramp, and the kick to be taken by Ian Miller.
There's two players there with cramp together. Jerry Issachar and
Jerry Issachar down
Jim
with
Haynes.
cramp too. Now Ian Miller, 28 minutes in, this 18-year-old player, and an opportunity to wrap up the 68 grand final. Bob Miller.
Thank you, Brian. Well, here's Ian Miller coming in about 35 to 40 yards out in the left full forward pocket. A lot could depend on this kick. Here it comes, swinging in towards full forward. It's there. And that could seal the game and the premiership for the Demons.
I would say so, Bob. A lovely kick to Ian Miller there. Kicked the ball high and allowed the breeze to take it in with a drop punt. And a very valuable goal to Perth. That certainly seals the issue with only a matter of minutes to go.
Good goal, Bob. You must be proud of him.
Yes, Brian. I think the Perth fans can breathe again here. 15-14 Perth, 13-8 East Perth. A great fight back by the Royals in this last quarter. Noel Wilson gets the tap. It goes to O'Donoghue. East Perth still fighting on. Polak, John Polak. Polak takes the mark on that left centre wing. Could not be long to go now as Polak kicks towards the forward line. Ross Milson played a great game for Perth. Down the back towards the centre. They're going to pack towards Jensen, but it's picked up by Polak. Polak's kick out towards David Whittle, and Whittle takes the mark. No, Fremantle it is. Fremantle kicks towards half forward. Graham Ramshaw trying to come through. On the half forward flank, and umpire Scott to bounce it down. On the half forward flank, umpire Ray Scott. Minutes ticking by as Noel Wilson gets the tap. Ross Milson. Milson a high kick, but it doesn't get far. No player wants it. All sweating on each other there. Graham Ramshaw to Jensen. The 29-minute mark. Paddy Dalton. Down towards half forward into open territory. Now to Ian Miller. Miller gets his kick towards full forward. And it's through for another goal to Perth.
Well, a great leap by Issachar there, Bob, to get that ball down and over to Miller. It looked like Bradley Smith was going to get the ball at one stage, but clever play by Issachar to stop it, get it down again, hook it over to Miller, and Miller's proving a valuable player to Perth in that full forward
He
line.
certainly looks as though he's got cramp, Jack. Are very tired down there, but 16-14 to 13-8, and a lucky bounce, a lucky break either way. As you saw there in the last couple of goals, have certainly looked like winning this for the Demons. There's 30 minutes gone there on the clock. Very little time to go in this grand final. There's the bounce down. Noel Wilson, a fresh man on. Down towards. There's the bounce again, but Malcolm Brown smothered it this time. Tackled by Issachar. Brown, a good player for East Perth. Out towards the flank. Ray Lawrence knocks it away. Laurie Bennett. centre of the ground. John Bandy up towards the flank. Players still battling on both sides. A lot of them nearly out on their feet. There's the kick from Laurie Bennett up towards full forward. Missed there by Verstegen. John Garnett. John Garnett well out in that forward line. Bob Shields played well at centre half back, and there's his kick. A high kick towards the flank. Well knocked on out there, out towards the flank in open territory.